Hopefully, you are doing well and you are doing okay. This is not the only subject that we are going to be talking about today, but I happened to be in on somebody else's live this morning and heard some rhetoric that I'm going to address. Good morning, Jay Nice. How are you? And then we're gonna get some things straight a little bit about what service looks like and what service to your country really looks like. What's up, Devil Dog? How are you? What's up, Shawnee? And what's up, Baby Mo, Conchita, Carla? David, Lanny, Jen, good to see you guys. Listen, if you are joining me anywhere other than TikTok, what's up, Blue Honey Pot, and when Dixie, Ali Nicole, and Lonnie, you got to say hi, or I won't be able to see you when you enter the room. What's up, Chris? Good to see you. Good morning, Carla. Hey, Taylor. Good to see you as well. Hey, Veronica. Um, appreciate it, Rylene. Right back at you. Yeah, Melinda, I about lost my shit. Can you tell? What's up, Sean? Yeah, I meant to shame that man on Fax's live. I did. Blessed and grateful. Good to see you as well. Good morning, Gloria. Good morning, Letty. Nice to see everybody rolling in here. Good morning, Cheryl. Hey, Deborah. What's up, Nene? Sandy. Good to see you as well. What's up, Dirty Bad? Deb, Jay Nice. Yeah, listen, Telly. Hey, Jen Yaya. What's funny is he seemed to know who I was. I have no idea who he is, though. But, that DDS. Damn, I got to make a sticker. I have to make a sticker for Dani derangement syndrome. I've got to make a sticker. The DDS sticker needs to happen, right? What's up, Grammy? Have you? I have not. Yeah, Carla, I hopped on. Good to see you too. I hopped onto Fax Live this morning, not because I planned to, but I had just, good morning, find out. I had, I don't know, Charisma. I do not know. And I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know. So the thing is, it's like I popped to Fax because I was doing my graphics for this morning and kind of setting up and getting ready to go, and I happened to hear somebody on his panel who was a veteran, just saying really dumb shit, and he was dismissing Fax and what Fax was saying, because he was saying, hey, witch, he was saying, oh, well, you haven't served, so your opinion doesn't matter. And I've served, so I hopped on the panel, and then he just moved the goalpost. Yeah, but are you a combat veteran? And then my question to him is, what percentage of the military actually sees combat? Do you even know? Right? Probably not. Can you tell me what Article 92 is? What about 90, 91, or 92? You know what I mean? Like, come on, give me something. And yeah, Jason, yeah, JD Vance served. He did. Yeah, I take nothing away from him. However, what I would say is that today he is consistently breaking his oath that he took. Thanks, Cats. What's up, Sherry? Good morning. Yeah. Hey, Michelle. Good morning. So listen, folks, this is not difficult. This is really not a difficult conversation to have. And we're going to go through some things today, but I need to be clear about a couple of things about what service really means. Okay. And what I find is that people think that combat, it's a little more than 3%. It's about 10% overall. And those are the actually ones that see combat, but about 30 to 40% get deployed, but they don't necessarily see combat, right? Good morning, Kimber. Alaikum salam, Sparkle. But I think it's also important that we talk about what service actually means, and the different sacrifices at different levels that people who join experience, right? And by the way, it's not just the people that serve that give service to their country, right? It is also their families and their loved ones, especially their spouses and their children's, and all of those different things. So, but we're gonna talk about some facts and some information, because I feel like it's really, really important that we cover those things. Brad J, I'm not sure what you're talking about. You seem to have something to say, but I'm not sure what it is that you are trying to articulate. Let me know what it is that you're trying to articulate. We'll see if we can have a conversation, Brad J. Okay. We'll see if we can make that happen for you. Yeah. So yeah, it's so if in case you guys have woken up today and you don't know what all the hoopla is about what Donald Trump said about Robert Mueller passing is is that Donald Trump said Robert Mueller is dead. Good. He said good. He's glad he's dead, right? And what's really wild about that is Robert Mueller spent his entire life in service to this country, right? Not only in the military. I mean, he was a decorated military service. He saw combat. He saw all of those things, right? And a lot of people are pointing out, well, Donald, they're pointing out that Donald didn't even serve and he has bone spurs. And that, listen, I know the history of that. Good morning, Dax, right? Hey, Candy Kiss. I know that I think it was the Queen's physician, somebody's physician, that diagnosed him with bone spurs and said it was a quote unquote favor to his daddy later, right? That's what she said. I really don't even, that's not the part for me. That's not the part for me. Here's what is the part for me that makes it atrocious today. Because if he were just regular Donald Trump, real estate failure, businessman failure, right, in the regular world, and he had received a diagnosis of bone spurs and not served his country and made those statements about Robert Mueller, I wouldn't really give a damn. Good morning, Tony. I wouldn't really care, right? Because he's nobody. The only reason I care about his statements today is because he is the president of the United States of America and the commander in chief. Like, that's the part that makes it relevant. Y'all get that? If he weren't in office and he were just saying dumb shit or hateful shit, I wouldn't really care. Fine, just say dumb, hateful shit. But what matters is you are in the Oval Office, the White House. You are the president of the United States of America, the commander in chief. And the words that come out of your mouth matter, especially when they are about veterans and military and service and all of those things. And the thing that is atrocious about this is too often the media it is Tracy. That's why she's here. Too often the media just says Trump said this. And I want them to stop doing that. I want people to start saying the president of the United States said this. Because I think when you put it in that perspective, that the president of the United States said this, then you get clarity as to the significance of those words, right? If he were just some little rich, spoiled, 80-something-year-old balding man, nobody would really give a shit, right? Nobody would care. But he's not just some rich, spoiled, old, balding man-child. He's not. He is the president of the United States of America. And that is why his comments and his rhetoric need to be held to account. Period. And, it doesn't matter. And so if you're a veteran and you are opening your mouth to defend Donald Trump, the president of the United States, if you are opening your mouth to support his actions and the things that he has done, I'm going to say this unequivocally, without hesitation, 10 toes down with my full ass chest. You are an oath breaker. Any veteran that supports the actions of this president in Iran, in Venezuela, any of those things, right? You need to understand that you are an oath breaker. Yeah. And so I need to make that very, very clear. You need to get, because yes. And that's just the way that it is, and I'm not. So let me just say this, folks. I will make no excuses for him in any way, shape, or form. He gets none. He gets no second passes. He gets no anything, because those are the things that are relevant. And if there is a single veteran, if there is a single military person that would like to join this panel because you disagree with me, we can have that conversation. we can absolutely have that conversation. And I'm going to suggest that you be ready. I'm going to suggest that you be ready, okay, in every situation. So, because this part is important. You ready? I want to. So there's a couple of parts that are important, and I'm going to talk about those parts. Okay, are you ready? Um, because a lot of people focus on the foreign and domestic part, which is important. People also focus on the Constitution portion, which is important, right? But there's also some stuff at the end that's really, really important, right? Yeah. So here's what I will say. Like I said, to any mediocre man that happens to be in the chat that would like to have a conversation, come on up to the panel. Hand Rowdy, that would be you, right? That would be you 100%. You can come on up here. So can Daniel Villers. You can come up here. Jimmy, you can come up here. Like every single one of you. I doubt that you will, but you are welcome to request. Here, I'm going to make it easy for you. Y'all know I'm helpful. So let me do this right here. 1 second. Boom, 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 boom. And as I do this, one of the things that I'm going to say to you is very simple. If you have if you have never ever been in my live before I open this panel up, I'm going to ask you really quickly, have you ever been in my live before? If you have not, please put a 1 in the chat for me. Oh, baby, this is not the right one. It's the one that's in front of the couch, Bella. Okay, great. This is important. All right, so let me share this with you, baby. It's the one in front of the couch. All right, so I ask for 4 things in this space, just 4. Okay. Number 1, I ask that people be respectful. Okay, so that's the very first one. Be respectful. Number 2, the bread is over there, honey, on the floor. Number 2, love that, Nikki. Number 2, right? Do not use slurs of any kind, right? Number 3, do not spam my comments. That means don't say the same thing over and over and over again, or you will be muted and booted from the live, not because people can't handle you, but because it's not productive and hurts the algorithm. And then number 3, do not type in all caps. And the reason for that is all caps are reserved for my moderators and for my folks that are vision impaired. So those are 4 very simple things. If you can't follow 4 simple guidelines, this is probably not the space for you, right? Because even my grandchildren can follow those 4 things. Okay. And listen, for the people that are like, oh, she censors people who disagree, you're full of shit. I don't. I will talk to someone who disagrees with me for an hour or more. You just won't get to disagree with me and use slurs or spam my comments or something like that, right? So if you can't handle that, right, this is probably not for you. Got it? Okay, perfect. So when I bring you up, please do me a favor and put yourself on mute until I can get to you. Handy Rowdy, I don't know what happened. I clicked you and it didn't bring you up for some reason. Sometimes TikTok does that for me. One of my mods might have to do it. Handy Rowdy, do you want to try again? Handy Rowdy. No, he was still in there, Allie Nicole, when I clicked his name. He was still in there when I clicked his name. So I don't know why he didn't come up. Mods, is Handy is Handy Rowdy? Is his name Handy Rowdy? Is he still in the request box? If so, can we bring him back in? How many more lying conspiracies will the Dems cook up? Daniel, why don't you come up here and tell me what they are? You don't see him? Okay. All right, folks, when I bring you up, please do me a favor and put yourself on mute until I get to you. Okay? Well, it looks like they're not there. What happened? So Daniel, come on. You can be first. You seem like you have something to say. Daniel, I sent you an invitation. You want to come on? Dunk, you can come too. Come on, Dunk. I sent you an invite. Oh, I'm looking for one more. Where was well, I don't even see damn Nash. What's up, Gabe the Babe? Good morning. Yeah, see? I don't I don't see the folks. There you are, Nash. Come on, Nash. Come on, Nash. You're a veteran. I know you can talk to me, right? We vets can have a conversation with each other, correct? Yeah? No? Daniel, this is going to be your opportunity. I would suggest you find your way to my panel. Oh, Dunk, come on. You can bring your Islamophobia to the panel too. I'll address it when you get up here. Surely to goodness, from your profile picture, you look like a big, strong man. Your thumb should be strong enough to hit that damn request button. You can use your pointer finger if it's not. If your thumb's gotten weak, use your pointer finger, Dunk. You can find that request box, can't you? It's big right there on the screen. No? I mean, I'm just saying. Yeah, what's the word? Just give me a second. And yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. Johnny Porter, join the panel and I'll tell you. Johnny Porter, join the panel and I'll tell you. Waiting for you. That's what I thought. You see how Dunk and Daniel's asses are still down there in the chat, not saying anything. Give me 1 second. Bella Boo, here you go, love. Daniel, I'm not crying. You're the only one crying down there in the comments. Definitely not me. Yeah, her cough's really bad, Shantae. Here, babe. Yeah. All right. So let me get the panel ready to go. So, Johnny, were you in here when I said when I went over the 4 guidelines for being in this space?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you can handle those, right? They're not too bad, right? Okay. So, can you share with me what it is that I have said, or how you gleaned the perspective that I quote unquote hate America?
I mean, if you hate Trump, you hate America.
How is that?
Because I'm saying we in war. What you want him to do? Let Iran come in and kill your relatives? That's crazy.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Did you like Joe Biden when he was in office?
Yeah, no.
Well, then why did you hate America?
Shit, no. I ain't like no Joe Biden.
Well, why did you hate America? Why did you hate?
Joe Biden. See, you ain't gonna let nobody talk.
No, I am. I'm listening to you, Johnny. Hold on, we're talking. I think there's an echo. Are you on speakerphone? Hold on, Johnny, are you on speakerphone? I'm asking you if you're on speaker because it's echoing.
No, I'm at work. It's probably echoing because of that.
Okay, gotcha. That's what I was trying to say. The echo is lasting longer, and so that's what I was trying to ask you. Relax. So, yeah, so the question that I asked, because what you said is that if I don't like Donald Trump as president, then I hate America. But you're saying you didn't like Joe Biden as president. So doesn't that mean that you also hated America?
Well, I'll put it like this. Joe Biden was giving Iran billions of dollars, so now I don't hate America. He do, and his followers.
Joe Biden didn't give Iran any money.
Joe Biden gave him money. Obama gave him billions on pallets.
So actually, Obama did not give him billions on pallets. So hold on, listen, Johnny, and my name is Dani, not Lady. So let me share with you. So we had seized Iran's money, right? So we had their money and we were holding it. That money was theirs. And the courts were ruling that we had to give them their money back. So what Barack Obama did was release back to them their funds that the courts said we could not legally keep from them.
Okay, so you telling me the court's telling you to release all that money back to Iran, and know that they hate America and they build nuclear weapons against America.
Okay, so let's do a couple of different things. Does Russia have nuclear weapons?
They use Russian weapons.
Okay, I'm asking you one more time to call me Dani, not Lady. I'm calling you Johnny. So Johnny, I'm asking you questions and I'm asking you to call me by my name. Okay? That's it. Hey, facts people, thanks for coming. So my question to you is, Johnny, does Russia have nuclear weapons?
Does Russia have nuclear? Hell yeah.
Okay, so then why does the United States of America import anything from Russia?
Say that again now.
So okay, let me just back up. Let me ask you this. So can you?
I'm gonna say this right here. You, all y'all Democrats always.
I'm not a Democrat, so try again, Johnny.
Well, whatever you is, you're not for the United States of America. I can say that.
Have you ever served?
I'm a rock with the United States, whether right or wrong.
Johnny, a couple of questions, okay? So if you believe that we shouldn't be giving anything to Iran, can you tell me why the Trump administration has lifted the sanctions off of Iran's oil and we are now paying $140 a barrel from oil from Iran? Because why would we lift sanctions during a war and allow the people that we're fighting to sell that oil instead of at $60 a barrel to $140 a barrel?
I'm gonna put it like this, right? I'm gonna ride with Trump.
But that's not what I asked you, Johnny. So you don't actually want to have a real, so wait, I just want to understand. So you don't actually want to have a real conversation. You just want to argue. Is that right?
I mean, no, what I'm saying is I'm down with the president
Facts,
of the
people.
United States.
Johnny, this is so Johnny, I didn't ask you about Donald Trump. I didn't ask you. Hey, Johnny, did I ask you if you were going to ride with Trump?
No,
Okay, so if you're going to be on my panel, then we're going to have a conversation. So Johnny, don't do that. When you first came to my panel, here's what you said. When you came to my panel, you said you could follow the 4 very simple guidelines in here. That's what you said you could do. So you can just chabber from the damn chat, I guess. That's what you can do now, Johnny. Run your jaws from down there. Folks, I don't ask for anything significant. I literally just ask you to be respectful, right? That's it. And when you prove that you can't do that, then don't expect to sit up here for a really long time. And what I would say is that many of you have no clue what it even means to be a patriot. And Daniel, I don't know what's wrong with you. I know if you're asking me if I'm a man because, your door goes that way, listen, I'm not available right now, right? And if you're asking if I'm a man because your door goes that way or both ways, I'm not interested. You're not my type. It's you, not me. So stop asking. I don't know if you know this or not, but it seems really sus when you go into people's rooms and you ask about their bodily autonomy. It seems really, it seems like you should be on a list. I don't know if you know this or not, but like there are these lists that they have like in the legal system. And sometimes they place people on those lists when they are very interested in other people's body parts and people don't want them to be interested in them. So I'm just saying, Daniel, it's a little weird. And yeah, just saying. Don't do that. All right. So, yeah, they like to do that. Hey, good morning, Miguel. Good morning, Facts. Good to see you guys. Thanks for popping on in here. I appreciate you guys for coming in. Again, if you are a veteran, if you are military, or if you want to participate in this conversation, there are only a couple of guidelines that I ask for, right? Those guidelines are very simple, folks. Be respectful. Do not use slurs of any kind. Do not spam my comments, and don't type in all caps, because those are reserved for my moderators and for my folks that are vision impaired. I don't ask for too much. Act like you got some damn manners. That's it. When I bring you up to this panel, do me a favor, stay on mute until I get to you, please. Got it? That's it. Not hard. Not hard at all. Stay on mute until I get to you, please. Hey, Facts people, welcome in. Love to see you. Hey, Lena. Good morning, folks. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Appreciate you guys. All right, so Tom, you were first. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, I'm well, thank you. You said Tom, yes, I live in New York, a Harris voter. I just wanted to come in and thank you for what you did in Facts Matters Live, and I appreciate you. Thank you for your service, and thank you for what you do. And I appreciate you coming in, and I'm sorry that he spoke to you that way. I know it doesn't bother you. I know I know you got this, but thank you. And
I appreciate it.
Down, but I just wanted to come up and appreciate you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, A-Team, it looks like you're having trouble connecting. So if you need to drop and come back, you might want to do that. Edwin, good morning, and how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I am fantastic. What you got?
All right. Oh, first off, I want to say I enjoy your content. This is my new page. I went on one of your panels a couple of months back, and I interacted. So I definitely jump on. I really enjoy your interactions. I deal with the same type of situations in regular discourse, not to mention what I deal with on Facebook. I just wanted to say the guy that was on there before, that Johnny guy, which is pretty much that quintessential MAGA zombie troll. He didn't want to come on here to debate. He didn't want to come on here to discuss anything. He just wants to go in and flood the zone with insults.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna attacks.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted to do.
Yeah, that's the whole lady. Yeah, I get it.
Well, yeah, and I'm already used to it. I kind of like figured out at this point right now, 12 years in this whole Trump like situation, has exposed a lot. But at the same time, there's a certain level of exhaust from a lot of people. And I'm a liberal. Yes, I'm a Democrat. But of course, Democrat, Republican, those are just companies. But that's besides the point.
Yeah.
The way I see it is that the Republican Party has been infiltrated by MAGA. Mm-hmm. MAGA is like Hydro in the MCU, and they pretty much
Hydra. They're Hydra.
They ate up. Yeah, they're Hydra. Straight up, they're Hydra. And the debate and in dealing with this political discourse, what really gets to me is the fact that you bring up great points and you actually put up stuff that's worth a conversation. I do the same thing on my page as well. Unfortunately, you have, and I have to pretty much say, and Johnny, I'm sure he's listening, you have clowns and zombies that come in. They don't even focus on the questions that you were asking. I'm like, I was trying to answer the question for him as you were asking.
Yeah.
And they don't even listen. And not to mention the fact that he started coming in and calling you lady and all that other type of stuff. That pretty much says, that's said enough for me.
Yeah, 100%. No, I appreciate you. And here's my thing. Every now and again, I can typically tell who's who, right? So when I get folks like Johnny, I'll tolerate it for a minute, right? Just to see if I can get through. And if they don't, then I'll drop them. But occasionally I can tell, even if they come in hot like that, I can usually tell if there's a decent conversation to be had once we get past the foolishness, once we get past the fuckery. And in his case, there just wasn't. That's why he just got booted and got sent on back somewhere. He can go back to work and stop talking in the bathroom. That's what he can do.
Yes, let him go back to the bathroom.
Yeah.
But to answer that, I know that the thing that you had asked him, right? And I just want to help with the context. That question about if you know, not liking America. I think the essence of being an American is the fact that you can have certain levels of disappointment in your country and still live.
Yeah. Well,
and not be persecuted.
Yeah, it's not only that you can, but to be quite frank, you should. If you are, and this is the difference between patriotism and nationalism, and I talk about this quite a bit, all right? Nationalism is exactly what Johnny said. Johnny said, I'm going to support Trump no matter what, whether he's right, whether he's wrong. I'm going to support the United States whether we're right or whether we're wrong. That is nationalism. That is not patriotism. Patriotism requires you to, oh, bless it. Jack Smith is just coming on in here really hot and ridiculous. You see that? Can somebody do me a favor? And no, see, he got blocked. He's all good, but he also got reported. He got both.
But you know what they want to. You know what they want to do, Dani.
Yeah.
They just jump in and just they want to keep you quiet. You know,
yeah.
I go through it a lot, and I figure we got to keep this going because the civil war that we're dealing with in our country is one that involves a lot of political discourse.
Mm-hmm.
And people think, oh, we're not at war. No, we're in a particular war right now. This conversation has gone beyond like the kitchen table.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, you can't just take the country, just split it in half and send people on one side and others to the other. We have to continue the conversation. And when it goes back to guys like Johnny, which I love calling MAGA zombies, is it pretty much shows the extent of their civics, non-education, and not to mention they don't know how to debate. Because at this point right now, debate has become some type of contact sport, and they suck at it.
So here's the thing for me. So people who come in this room a lot know, I don't debate. I will have discussions all day long, but I'm not debating because to me, facts are not debatable. We can discuss facts and we can discuss your opinion about those facts, but you're not going to debate a fact with me, right? So that would be number one. Number two, I don't like, and if you've been in here enough, Edwin, you know this, I don't like to call anybody names, right? Because I know that there have been people that when I look at what's happened to some people and people that I know, like because where I'm from is about 80% Republican. It's you know, small town, rural Tennessee. That's where I'm from. And so what I understand is that a lot of times what has occurred is they have actually used religion. They have used faith to manipulate a lot of people and bring them in. And so what I know is, here's what I know, no matter what, there will be people that support Trump that you cannot flip. I got that. That won't be able to hear you. But I really, truly believe, and I have seen it to be so, that there are others who will listen and will learn. What I know for sure is that if they hear me calling them, you know, names or whatever, then there's no opportunity whatsoever. So that's just something that I prefer not to do. I don't call them names because that to me, it defeats the purpose. The purpose is for us to come together and to have some form of connection and understanding. And I can't get that if I'm calling people names, you know? So that's where I stand on that. But no, anyway, yeah, I appreciate you for coming up. Hey, Marilyn, good morning over there. Hey, Pin 1010. I am going to go ahead and pop on up to, so what in the world? I'll come back to you. I'm going to grab A-Team because he was up here first, but was having trouble connecting, and then I'll come right back to you. Appreciate you, Edwin. Good morning, A-Team. How are you?
I'm fine. First time in your life. I hope you don't want a non-American in your life.
Doesn't matter to me if you're a citizen or not.
Okay, well, just checking. Some creators don't like it, so I just want to say it up front.
Yeah.
So I won't waste your time if you don't.
Oh no, you're fine.
Okay. I just want to let my American friends understand that what's going on in Iran and Cuba, the moral standing of America in the world. I mean, I hear my American friends say, "Oh, when Trump's gone, we'll be friends and everything be okay." I'm not sure that's going to be the case, guys.
Nope.
I mean, I really hope that's the case. But the more Trump's doing what he's doing, some of them is irreversible.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just want you guys to realize that. I mean, Greenland, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
The Danish sent troops over there because they were actually having talks. What we do if Americans send forces, do we pew them or not?
Right.
And the orders were, you do not fire until fired upon.
Right. Yeah.
Basically. So they were prepared for a war. They were preparing for a war.
As they should have.
It didn't happen, thank God. But there's still 3 more years. I don't know with this guy.
So number one, I don't think he's going to be in office for 3 more years. No matter how that occurs, I don't think he's going to be in office for 3 more years. But I do think that he has done, in some cases, in some instances, irreversible damage to our relationships with our allies. And a lot of people don't know that the reason Kamala Harris traveled to 150 countries during the Biden-Harris administration was for her to go in and attempt to smooth over and to rebuild and to strengthen some of those relationships that he damaged the first time. And one of the things that I have said to people everywhere is that, if they think that the rest of the world sat around for 4 years and just hoped that American citizens got it right the second election, you're fooling yourself. Every single one of those countries was developing a plan for if he got a second administration. And we would be ignorant to think that he has not done that, right? It would just be crazy to believe that they would not do that because they're going to do what's in the best interest of their country. And what they know for sure is that a second Trump administration would not be good for them. And that's why you see the EU and their new deal with India. That's why you see Canada with their new trade agreement with China. That's why you see all of these different things taking place, is because those countries are strengthening themselves. And no matter what everybody likes to say, I'm going to tell you what, when you get enough middle countries together, being the one big country isn't that powerful.
Well, I mean, everyone keeps thinking America, this is a post-WW2, like it's in the 50s or something. 50s America is a totally different world than what we are now. If there was 50s America, regardless how arrogant, how stupid America acts,
yeah,
everyone would shut up. Why? Because you were 50% of the GDP. You were the only major power that has manufacturing power. Mm-hmm. You're the only, the one who is supporting Europe. There was no rival, right? There's no economic, right? You're in a multipolar world with other rivals coming. Forget China. The EU is there as a whole. They're stronger than America. They're not militarily strong, but economically. Now you're making them think, oh, I guess having our own military was a good idea. Because if you know history, they were supposed to make their own military back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. Ronald Reagan and Thatcher torpedoed that idea by the French and the Germans. They always wanted their European dream, right? You just gave them in a platter.
Yeah.
And the reason Americans didn't want the Europeans to have their own military force, because they didn't want a rival.
That's right.
Natural, because anyone who could rival the Americans was the Europeans at the time. Now you probably have China. You probably have India in the future.
Yes.
Right. Some would say Chinese already rivaling America in many aspects.
Yeah.
I mean, having seen this W8R with Iran,
mm-hmm.
I feel very worried for my Taiwanese friends right now.
Yeah, everybody should be concerned. Do you follow Mr. Global by any chance?
Yes, he's great.
Yeah, he was on with me the other day and did a.
Yes, yeah, you were talking about it when I first saw you live.
Yeah,
he's spot on. But there's one thing nobody's talking about. Everyone's talking about the oil and gas, which
mm-hmm.
is very important.
Yep.
But everyone forgets the helium.
Yes.
And guess what? What do you need for helium? Helium, besides for your party balloons, I know. Besides that, it's that you need helium to make microchips.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember back in the day when we had the C19 problem.
Yeah.
Cars were made, but they weren't given to you because they were missing chips.
Yes.
So you can't. I mean, that's two things in the modern economy. It's oil and chips. So it's not only the oil, it's the chips, the fertilizers.
Yes.
So many things are going to hit us all at one time. And Mr. Global's absolutely right. If you think it's a disaster now, every day this thing is closed,
yes,
it's going to be a disaster 6-7 months later. And we just don't know how bad it is. That's the question. Nobody knows how bad it is. Everyone's just hoping it's not as bad as they think it is.
Yeah, Mr. Global painted a very, very clear picture to me about just exactly how bad he literally said in this live that in about 60 to 90 days, no matter what happens, even if everything stopped right now, right? He still said that there's no way to stop what is coming in 60 to 90 days. And he said the thing that was most concerning to him out of everything is the food. It's going to be the cost of food, is going to be the yield of crops that's going to go down because of the cost of fertilizer. He talked a lot about what's going to happen in terms of South Korea, Japan, those folks in Asia, because they are so heavily reliant upon Iran. And I just don't think, the thing that is most troubling about the current administration is the first go around, we had people with expertise, and we had Ivanka and Eric Hirschman. And those two had the ability to kind of keep him on the guardrails. And you had Pat Cipollone, who refused to do certain things. All of those guardrails are completely gone this time. And we're just stuck until something changes.
Well, the part of the problem is I don't understand how Americans judge a successful presidency. Do you judge it based on PR, how he looks? Is he handsome? Does he make you feel good? I mean, if that's your standard, then we're in trouble. I thought the standard used to be what does he get past? What does he leave as his legacy?
Yeah.
What does he move the country forward?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I thought Joe Biden did it in spades.
He did.
Was he, tap dancing and all that? I mean, at 80 years old, come on. And at that age, I expect what 80-year-olds would do, right?
Yeah.
But physically, he was fit. When he spoke about his stuff, his experience, yes, he knew his stuff. His short-term memory at 80 years old, I understand it. It's not great, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of his pick of the cabinet members, in terms of his results,
yeah,
that's what counts, guys.
Yeah.
We already see you don't need to have someone, if Trump had all those people in charge and he let them did the work, I would say Trump's a fantastic president.
Yeah.
If he got bills passed, right? That's all a president needs to do is delegate and make sure he move the country forward. That's it.
Yes. But he doesn't know how to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And just don't make things worse, right?
Yes.
Don't make things worse and we'll carry the ball forward. That's all you need to do. And not only did bring it forward, like what Biden did, he is bringing America backwards. Look what he did with the Japanese prime minister.
Yes.
Allegedly, she said she has never.
No, she didn't.
I haven't confirmed that.
She didn't. It's a fake video. Yeah, it's
that's what I believe.
It's a fake video. Yeah, she didn't say that. Oh, even if she thinks it, she didn't say that.
I wouldn't be shocked she felt insulted.
Yeah.
I was surprised because how much Japan relies on America to make such a statement like that.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, I don't know. Let me confirm this. I haven't confirmed it, so thank you for confirming.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is exactly when we need our allies. We need our friends. The problems we're having, instead of grouping up and solving the problems like we did with C19 or when the Great Recession happened, you are antagonizing, insulting the very people you need to help you out.
Yeah, because he thinks we don't need anybody. And the only spoiled rich kids think like that. But, I appreciate you, A-Team. Feel free to hang out for a minute. I want to make sure that I get to Is this? It's what's the word, and then the Crowlette. Yeah. What's up? What's the word?
So many incredible things being said right now from the A team. Crow from Facts, to be on the same panel. Honored. To be on your panel. Honored. I was saying in Facts, like, I'm a public educator. I teach special ed students. And I respect every educator there is. I respect all the people that I've served. But I'm not sure how the A team said it, or it might not have been the A team. It might have been prior. They said something about like how we debate, and I liked what you said. It's not the problem is it's not debating. Facts are facts. 2 + 2 = 4. You can't debate me on that. But it's gotten to a point where this MAGA cult is cherry picking semantics. They pick the semantics game. For example, the WAR. Oh, it's just a conflict. No.
Yeah.
The president himself has said it's a WAR. We had Pete Hegseth say it's WAR. It's baffling to me. I'm gonna be straight. I'm 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, and I'm so lucky because when I was in middle school, when I was in high school, and I was a graduate of the 2020 class in high school, and it was right there where education. No, seriously, Warner. It's like, oh, did you put the 2 in the right spot? Was the plus sign written straight? Like, how did it, like, the mental gymnastics is wild. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, no, I just read the comment, what you're known. But when I was in middle school, we learned the bare bones of the government. We had to pass the government exam in 8th grade. When it came to high school, I had to take an American Problems course. In high school, I had to take U.S. government again. We were required to take U.S. history. And what we learned in all of this is the importance of learning from history, the importance our history holds as a guide, as a study guide, honestly.
Yeah.
For what not to do, for what to improve on. And it's heartbreaking because right when I graduated, especially when I was in college to become an educator, we had a class implemented on how to properly incorporate parental input. And I'm like, what the does that even mean? But then I talked to some of my previous teachers, and I'm from a blue state, but the town I'm from is super, super red. It's actually where Charlie Kirk started Turning Point, is the town that I'm from. And so that town is super, super red. And it got to a point that when I was talking, they're like, we can't teach American problems anymore. And what we would do in that class was play a game. And it was the problems game. Every senior looked forward to it because it was a simulation of what it's like to be a leader of basically the president of a country.
Yeah.
And each class would be a different country, and you'd have to, it was a true example of how to,
it just got people to critically think about exactly what the issues are. And people.
But because parents now didn't want that kind, they had to get rid of that class because then parents were lucky enough, parents were now like suing. And we had to ban the book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou, which was the most powerful.
One of the things that I want to say, I just sorry to interrupt, but one of the things that I want to say is that school systems did not have to change their curriculum. School systems did not have to ban a book. Those school systems chose to buckle to parental pressure instead of going to court or standing behind their board of education and their state board of education that chose that curriculum. So, one of the issues that I have is when people say, "Oh, we had to ban books." No, you don't.
That's why I agree. Like, that's why when I was speaking, I don't mean to cut you off. That's why when I was speaking with those past teachers, I'm like, how for one parent to have that much control over the entire, that's weak.
Yeah. I think it's just
education.
a symptom. I think it's just a symptom of kind of where we are, and school systems, depending upon where you are, then there may or may not be an agreement within the school system for those types of things. So, I know it does. I know it costs them funding to not do it. I get it. They do need to fight though. And so Cheryl is also involved in education. So no, I agree with you, but we are at the place where we have to do something. Everybody is saying that they love seeing a young person so involved. What's up, Sammy J? I see you. But I appreciate you chiming in. I want to make sure that I get to Crowlette really quickly, and then feel free to hang out though.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for letting me speak. The biggest thing, I just want to say thank you for your service.
Appreciate it.
Before you left, you speak so eloquently and with such respect, and I think that that's just such a powerful and beautiful thing that we greatly need in this world. And Crow, truly, thank you for how you just kind of schooled brother over there. But thank you for having me up here.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate you. What's up, Crowlette? I am honored for you to grace my panel. How are you, friend?
I'm all right. Also, you could just call me Crow like the bird. Everybody's talking Crowlette because they misread it, but it's fine.
I got you. All right, Crow.
I wanted to circle back to two things you said. First was the discussion on nationalism versus patriotism. I've always actually had a very simple example I use for patriotism, and that is, I say being a patriot is like being a parent. I have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. I love them to death, would do anything for them, and I want them to be more tomorrow than they are today. But if they do something wrong, if they do something incorrect, we're going to stop and we're going to correct them so that issue doesn't keep on happening. That's patriotism. Being a nationalist is being like that one parent that all y'all know this parent. The parent that says, my child is an angel, my child does nothing wrong, will fight the school even when their child is subjectively wrong. That is what a nationalist is.
I say the same thing.
I just want to quickly agree with Crow on that one. The parents that we have that defend the most foul behaviors is just mind-boggling to me. Like, wrong is wrong. Facts are facts.
Yeah.
That's an incredible example, and I'm going to tell you right now, I will be stealing it.
Yeah. So, Crow, I say the same thing, and I give him this example because it was like this when I was growing up. Is if your kid is if you're in the grocery store with your kid and you walk out and all of a sudden your kid has a piece of candy that you didn't pay for, do you put the kid in the car and make excuses for it, or do you turn them back around, make them give it back, make them apologize, and make them take accountability? That's what you do. So you and I, Crow, it doesn't surprise me that we have the same analogies, because I think it's just, part of it comes from service, but that's exactly what I say as well. You were going to say something else though?
Yeah, and the other thing I want to touch on, because like you and I are built a little different, which is I'm always down to debate, but I'm very much a you get what you give me kind of person. Like if you come at me sideways, I'm gonna come back at you sideways. That's just how I am.
Yeah.
But that being said, I do agree that most people in this country, I always say it all the time, that most people in this country are on the left and they just don't know it. Like I'll use an example from last night. Last night, I was out back, I was doing work, working on a panel with some of my friends, and this guy comes up and he says, I didn't vote for Trump because he's not far right enough. And we all just pause, because on TikTok, that normally means one very specific thing.
Yes.
So I'm still woodworking, I'm doing my thing while they talk to him and unpack his stuff. He's anti-imperialist. He wants the working class to do better. He would do anything for anybody, would give the shirt off his back to everybody. Doesn't give a shit about migrants. He's like, yeah, let him be here. And I just immune. I'm like, brother, you're on the left. He's like, what? I'm like, you're on the left. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm going to tell you my baseline right now and tell me if you agree. My baseline for all things politics is leave me alone unless somebody needs help. He's like, Yeah, that's me. I'm like, congratulations. You're not just on the left, you're on my side of the left, which is further than the normal left. Like, you're in the deep left. If your baseline is leave P alone unless somebody needs help, you're on the left. He's like, I didn't know that. I'm like, yeah, this is my thing. You care about what a leftist cares about. Like, you want us to not be overseas for no reason. You want the working class to be taken care of. I'm like, you're the kind of left that comes from Appalachia. Like, you're the kind of left that fought at Blair Mountain. You are the working left that built this country. You've just been convinced by the news your entire life that left is bad when you are the left because you are the working left that built this nation. He's like, nobody ever explained it like that. I'm like, yeah, man, you've just been taught buzzwords. Don't worry about buzzwords. Just look after folks. And you're one of us. You just also don't go on panels and say he's not far right enough for you. That's going to get you eaten alive on the wrong place.
100%. The only other thing that I will say that I always feel like I need to interject there is I would say that the working class actually built the country after enslaved Africans built it first. I always have to, so that we understand how we even got into a position.
It's so many stuff. Excuse me. I'm actually indigenous on Blackfoot. I'm Siksika band specifically. So I'm like, how far back we want to go.
Oh, I go all the way back to you guys.
Yeah. And that's not an oppression Olympics thing. That's when we have those kinds of discussions. I'm like, how far back do you want to go?
I go all the way.
If you want to talk about the land, my people built the land. You want to talk about the country, people of color built the country. You want to talk about industry, the working class built the industries.
Yep.
I'm like, it's just about which layer we're talking about.
100%. I will tell you this. So I'll share this with you. So when I really, because I've always had a respect and an appreciation for Indigenous Americans in this country, right? But I didn't really get to know, because you don't have an opportunity all the time, at least where I grew up, to really know anything about anything. And so go all the way back to December of 2016. And my oldest daughter came to visit me, and her friend Chase was at Standing Rock. And we were just like, you know what? We're going to go. So we took all the canned goods, all the stuff, all the donation stuff. Anyway, we drove cross country from North Carolina all the way up to Standing Rock. And we were there that weekend, the Veterans Weekend. Veteran, right? So we were there Veterans Weekend, and that was also right before the big blizzard came in. And there were things there, Crow, that have stuck with me, and people that have followed me for a long time know this because I talk about it often. When I first got there, so we went up the street, and it was Flag Road, right? So there was all of these different tribal flags all the way up Flag Roll, and we pulled up on in the evening, so it was dark. And a Native American woman greeted me there. And I rolled down the window, and she said, "Is this your first time, or are you returning?" And I said, "No, this is my first time." And her immediate response to me was, "Welcome home, sister." Right?
That's how it is.
Stunning.
And so
people always want to talk about like indigeneity, not especially like when it comes to like people of color, not recognizing that outside of, I'm going to use the heaviest air quotes you'll ever hear me use, the 5 civilized tribes, because that's a whole other rant I could go on.
yes.
We literally just as a people took in all people of color, because like tribal affiliation, the blood quantum was imposed on us by the colonizers because it's long-term genocide. And I'm saying this because that's just science. If every generation marry somebody outside of the tribe, eventually one generation will be born that's no longer indigenous. It's long-term genocide. They just figured out a way to make it legal. Because before that, you didn't just become a member of the tribe by birth. You could be adopted into the tribe. There are whole European traders that were considered members of the Canadian tribe. It's just because they vibed with us that hard that we're like, you know what? You're not a part of business now. You're just family.
Mm-hmm. So the second part of that, Crow, is, and so before you could, when you went to Standing Rock, before you could participate in anything, the next morning they had an orientation that you had to go to. And it was at the big tent. So the next morning I go to the orientation, and so they had a white girl there. They had a member of the LGBTQ community there. They had an elder there, and they had a brown girl there. And each of them read different parts of how we live at camp, right? And they made sure that if it was talking about, racial things or colorism things, they made sure that it wasn't the brown girl talking about that. If it was about, hey, listen, before you go ask an elder for anything, you better have an offering, a piece of tobacco or something. But it wasn't the elder that talked about that. They made sure that it was another person so that you're not offended by whoever says it. But anyway, they left us with these 4 things, and they have never left my soul. They have never left my soul. The first was be indigenous centered. And it meant that while we were there, to remember what it must be like for Native Americans to have us on their land. And, because typically, historically speaking, when they invite people, it doesn't really end well, right? But it was, before you go to touch something that somebody has made or hair or whatever, it was be indigenous centered. And in everyday life, what that means in whatever community you're in, be that community centered. So if I'm in a conversation about racism, you need to be Black and brown centered. If I'm in a conversation about sexism or misogyny, I need to be woman centered, right? But that was the first thing, was be indigenous centered. The second thing, which is, let me see, I got to do them in order. Yes. Okay. So the second one is my favorite. So the second one was take up space. And this is probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life. They said, listen, if you're going to be here, don't just be here and take a selfie to post it on social media and say, I was at Standing Rock. But if you're going to be, yeah, they said, actually take up space, right? Be in it. So like I volunteered in the medic tent. I got to treat the feet. His name was Richard. I'll never forget. He was an elder. And so I was in the medic tent and got to treat his feet for frostbite. And this is somebody that was in the 1973 protest in DC, like all these different things, right? So it was take up space. If you're going to be here, really embody being here. Number 3 was we're creating a new generation, right? One of the elders said it like this. He said, if you had told me years ago that I would be looking out on this land and I would see black, brown, red, yellow, white, I wouldn't have believed it. So we are creating a new generation. And then 4 was take it home. And so that meant when you went home, find out whose land you're on, find out what tribe it belonged to, what language they spoke. And so several times throughout the year, I share, there's a website, it's in my link tree. It's called native-land.ca. And you can literally go, you can put in your address and you can click and you will see what tribes live there, what language they speak. There's a link to the local tribe there that there's like a center so that you can talk to them. I will never forget.
What they're referring to is the act of what's called land acknowledgement. So I'm actually, on one of my many hats, I'm a published D&D author, like Dungeons and Dragons. I wrote a module for a local organization here that's based on the museums in the area. And the opening of the entire module, it's printed, you can buy it at the local museum, is a land acknowledgement. Because the museum and Allentown in general sits on Lenape land. So it's the module opens with a full land acknowledgement, a map of the Lenape land, and then you get to play your game.
The first time I ever saw an organization do that is when I went to the Michigan Rural Democratic Caucus. So I was invited there to speak, and they were the first organization that I heard at the beginning of everything that they do. They do a land acknowledgement, and typically they will have somebody there from the local tribe. So the last one that I did last year, we were up at the Sioux at the casino in Michigan, way up northern Michigan, y'all, and they literally had the leader of the Sioux there, and so when it's just one of those things. And so it made me look even more. So yeah, it's land acknowledgement, knowing whose land you are on. And I've said this and I'll say it again. People that are in the comments will know that I said it all the time, is I do not believe that the United States of America will be what we can be until we do right by, first, Indigenous Americans, and second, by Black Americans in this country. I just don't believe it. It's the same way I feel like the world won't be right until Palestine is done right by.
I went to UMI.
Hold on. Let me go ahead. Go ahead, Crow.
Most people don't understand, even know that we only got our citizenship 124 years ago. Like, we were actually we were the one group that was explicitly carved out of the 14th Amendment. The people who were here since time immemorial, because like people hear the word indigenous and use an America-centric version of it. Indigenous just means people of any given land since time immemorial, from before there are actual records of people, the people that have been there. That's why you can have white indigenous people in like Scandinavia, because that's all indigenous means, people that have been since time immemorial.
Well, Crow, we just only had passports only recently, right? There was no such thing as passport 200 years ago, 150 years ago.
This is a new thing. That's a whole different topic. I'm talking about citizenship.
Yeah.
Birthright citizenship. Okay. Which is what the 14th
Amendment
establishes.
Which is what the Supreme Court is going to be arguing.
Indigenous folks were not granted citizenship in their own land until 124 years ago, after we helped in World War I, because they needed to give us something for that. They passed what's called the Indian Citizenship Act. Up until that point, we were explicitly excluded from citizenship in our own land. Yeah,
which is absolutely, the fuckery is outrageous. And so this is why I say the things that I say. So I appreciate that. I didn't know that about you, Crow. I've only seen you on Facts Live a couple of times. So love that.
I was going to say that I went to U of I, and before any, like our commencement, before graduation, before any speaker, before really anything, we had a land acknowledgement video that would play. At commencement, our chancellor would do like, had a whole land acknowledgement thing that he like not speech per se, but like a gratitude and acknowledgement for the land in which to whoever said I for any event, because it's important. I went to a university, and it was.
Yeah, all you have to do, folks, is you can literally go online and you can Google land acknowledgement, and you will see exactly how it's made up. So
we got off of the thing we went on a path. The point I was making before is the average person. We don't see the average person on TikTok. I always try to tell this people all the time. The average voter is not on TikTok. We see the vocal minority. The average person that you see on the street yelling about immigrants, yelling about trans people, they're chasing what's called folk devils. I actually always recommend this book. It's called Moral Panic and Folk Devils by Stanley Cohen. It was written back in the 70s. It was recommended to me by another creator in this app, Laney, aka Defend Us Trans.
Oh, I know Laney.
Yeah, Laney talks about this book all the time. It's a phenomenal book where Stanley Cohen evaluates how whenever the people in power need a scapegoat, they just create one whole plot that has been black people before, it has been rock music before, it's been Middle Eastern people before. Whenever they need a diversion, they just fabricate a folk devil. And because it's an easy target. What I find when it's not somebody just being angry on TikTok, if I can have the conversation with them, everybody is concerned with the same thing. This is why I tell everybody, I need you all to read Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. Mm-hmm. Because if you want to get past that layer of folk devil, because you're going to hear about the folk devil first, you're going to hear about, oh, I voted for Trump because migrants, I voted for Trump because of trans people. If you have the patience to probe past that, the further concern will always be found in the bottom two layers of Maslow's. Like, it's why I have a printed like Maslow's Hierarchy of Need on my office wall for when I have these conversations, because people are worried about security, they're worried about taking care of their family, they're worried about cost. And what the folk devil has been created to do is to tell them it's not the person in power's fault that these are going on. It's this group of people over here. So to get up to remove the folk devil, you have to go past the folk devil and illustrate how we can actually impact their material conditions.
Yeah, there you go.
Maslow's, I have a big printout in my classroom, and every day I'll roll a dice and we'll just spend 15 minutes exploring one of the needs, because it's so important to just, it's one thing to know it, but it's another thing to understand it, and it's a very completely thing to implement it.
Yeah. So Crow, I will tell you the best thing that we did when we left Standing Rock, and I'll just to circle back around, I got to tell you this. So when we left, we drove back down through the Blackfoot Hills, right? It was gorgeous. The snow everywhere. It was beautiful. And then we went over to see the Crazy Horse Memorial that they've been working on forever and for 50 years, which is huge. Oh my, the Crazy Horse Memorial is so large, you guys. You could put Mount Rushmore on just one side of his cheek. That's how big it is. It was so huge. It was so astounding. It was so breathtaking that when we left and we were like, oh, we can drive just 20 miles out of the way and we can see Mount Rushmore. When we drove by it, we looked up at it and we were like, okay, we don't even need to stop. We don't even need to get out. We didn't even get out to see Mount Rushmore because the Crazy Horse, it was so ginormous.
It's shocking at how much of our lands are like held somewhere else. So like I was stationed in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Do you want to know where Geronimo is buried?
Where?
On Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Shut up.
I used to go visit him pretty often.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's wild. So, you know, we definitely have, these are the things. So, oh yeah, thanks. What's the word? Appreciate that. Yeah. So no, I really do think these are things that we need to know and that we have to be talking about. You were at Fort Sill. Y'all can have Fort Sill all day. So I was not a Fort Sill girl.
That's why I have a blood oath to never go back to Oklahoma. Anybody that's not in the military, you get to pick a wish list. It's not guaranteed, but it's like a list of 3 places you'd like to get stationed. My friends all got that. I got assigned to Fort Sill after I was already OSET at Fort Sill. I did basic at Fort Sill. I did AIT at Fort Sill. I said, please send me to Ramstein. Please send me to Korea. Please send me to Hawaii. And they went, no, you're staying at Fort Sill. So now I have a blinding hatred for that whole state. And I have close friends that I'm like, I will buy you a plane ticket to my house before I ever come visit you.
Yeah. No. So my basic was Fort Jackson. My AIT was Fort Gordon. My first city station was Korea. I was in Youngsong. So, you know, hey. But visited all the way throughout, all the way up past the CRC, and then came back to Gordon, which is in Georgia, for those of you guys that don't know. And then after that, holy shit, can you say Fort Greeley, Alaska, which is right by a little town called Delta Junction. The town is only like 300 people there. They had only had an ATM for like 6 months before I arrived. The roads had only been paved for 2 years. And the closest, this is how far away from everything I was. The closest Burger King was 70 miles away at Eielson Air Force Base. The closest McDonald's, mall, and actual hospital was 99 miles away in Fairbanks, and Anchorage was 8 hours away. So this is why I have a blinding hatred for the cold. It was beautiful, don't get me wrong, but beauty doesn't matter when it's like negative 50 degrees. Fuck that.
I also wonder if that's what Sarah said. Sarah's correct. Maslow was informed by my people, the Blackfoot specifically, our circle of wellness. That's what Maslow based the hierarchy of needs on. Sarah's absolutely correct. I just normally refer to Maslow's because it's a more accessible thing to get people to read. But that also loops into something else I point out when we talk about who built this country. Do y'all know what the Bill of Rights is based on?
Tell them.
The Haudenosaunee Great Law of Peace of the Iroquois Confederacy, because Benjamin Franklin simultaneously called us savages in one breath while saying he was impressed at the laws that we built amongst our people. And those laws are what he turned into the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, you got to love that. They steal everything. Sorry. I digress.
And Marx based communism on his observations of indigenous people as well.
Wasn't that the West back in the day? They were the Japanese of their time. They take the ideas and maybe sometimes improve it and call it their own.
Yes, that's it. Call it their own, 100%. Which is.
You were saying Standing
Rock.
Rock.
He's taking shit from brown folks, undefeated champions of history.
Carol, you were talking about Standing Rock. I want to go back to that topic. I don't know if many Americans know about this, but Wesley Clark, general for NATO, back in the day, his son and a group of his friends went to Standing Rock and did some kind of apology at the ceremony or something like that. Do you remember anything about that, Crow? So what they did to the indigenous people?
I'm gonna be real. I said no, I don't, but I'm gonna be honest. I have really bad ADHD, and sometimes I wholly disassociate, so I have no idea what was said in the last 45 seconds.
Oh, I was saying, when you mentioned Stanley Rock, I remembered Wesley Clark, the former general of NATO, who ran for president in 2020, his son and a few of his friends, his son, not him, his son, they went to protest, I think they would want to make a pipeline or something, right?
Yeah.
And there was some protest, right?
Yeah.
And when that thing was won and everything, they also made an apology to the elders of what the Americans did to the indigenous people of the land, and it was not covered whatsoever. Yeah, and it was so touching.
It was the weekend I was there.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah, that.
Well, there you are. So I'm not making this up.
No, you're not making it up.
It was covered outside of America, but hardly anyone knows it about in America. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. So no, we were all. That was the Veterans Weekend. And that's the weekend that I was there. And if you remember, on the 8th is when this horrible, huge blizzard came in, and people couldn't get out, and it was not great. But yeah, they did. They put it on YouTube, like the Young Turks put it on their YouTube and what have you. Yeah, that was a thing.
General media, number one, hardly, they definitely didn't show it live, but let alone even broadcast it. Maybe maybe 2 minutes and one time, and that's it.
Yeah.
Never heard of it ever again. Unlike some news, they'll repeat it for a week, and they call it breaking news every day.
Yep.
In some cases, a month when it is a missing plane. The ridiculousness of American media sometimes is astonishing to me.
Hey, Crow, somebody over on Facebook is asking, is there a book where they can read more about how the Bill of Rights was stolen from indigenous people?
I'd have to dig for a book. When I'm referring to it, I'm referring to Franklin's own writings on the subject.
Yeah.
He wrote an entire thesis on how he viewed the indigenous as savages, but was impressed. There's a lot of that stuff probably exists in a book, but I tend to read primary sources for everything, so I dig through our founding fathers.
Holy shit! Yeah, so it's all throughout 1,751 of his writings. Some of it is, if you Google it, some of it is in the National Archives, and the National Museum of the American Indian has a write-up on it from 2024, how indigenous governing practices influence the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights. What I can do is I'll throw a couple of these into my link tree, and then you guys can go read it.
Another historical writing that I always refer people to, because people always argue we do weird smallpox blankets weren't real arguments. I encourage everybody to read the actual letters sent from Lord Jeffrey Amherst, the Commander General of the British Army, to the British quartermasters back in England, in which he explicitly requests pox-ridden blankets to distribute amongst the natives. He also then says he does not care if this harms his own troops, because his goal is the eradication of the native people at any cost, including his own men.
What's his name again? Give it to me, Crow.
Jeffrey Amherst, the dude that Amherst College is named after.
Mm-hmm.
Him. Lord Jeffrey Amherst.
I got it. It came up immediately. So I'll put this in, guys, and it'll be a whole, it'll say collection, and it'll just say indigenous Americans / I don't know, founding of America. You'll know what it is. I'll put it right in there. Okay. And
another thing I want to talk about, because I like to always mention this whenever I come up, especially when we talk about how most people have the same interests.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if you're listening, whether you're on Facebook, because now I know we're on Facebook, or you're here on Twitch or TikTok, if you need help, if you're hey, I can't get food, and I don't know what agencies exist in my area. I was denied SNAP, and I don't know why. I need help with Medicaid, and I don't know what's going on. I actually run an entire community for this. Regardless, I don't care if you're an op or not. I have an organization I've built specifically to help people navigate social programs and find mutual aid in their area. You can find it at needhasnoparty.org. It will get you to a Discord server where you can open a private ticket. And me and a handful of other people that are front-facing social workers, because my actual day job is I work for the Department of Health and Human Services, administering SNAP, Medicaid, TANF, all that stuff. So I've decided to just start doing that in my free time to help people that are lost. Because one, there's a lot of rules that people don't realize. Two, there's a lot of programs that people don't know exist. So I've dedicated my free time to helping people get the care they need regardless of party, which is why the URL is needhasnoparty.org.
Love that. Needhasnoparty.org. So, and just so you know, Crow, we are on Facebook, YouTube, Substack, and TikTok all at the same time. So yay, needhasnoparty.org, folks. If you have a situation where you are in need of food and things like that.
We can't do mutual aid because I ain't got like that. I'm barely making it, but I can help you find programs and I can help you figure out why you're not getting the help you needed.
There you go. We love that. We love that very, very much.
Crow, I just want to quickly go back to the beginning when you said that most Americans are left. I would add they're progressively left, not only left, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's my entire argument because of the entire argument about like what the American working class was for the longest time is what the left is
Today.
Well, I think they still are. They just don't know it. Like you just explained to that guy who he thought he was right, and he's not only left, he was far left, right? I just want to. I think that's the reason people who like Bernie Sanders like Trump, not because of what Trump is what he spoke to when he was running. He spoke progressive ideas. He didn't run. He didn't do any of those. I mean, he just said them, right? It sounded very progressive, but of course he's not. And I understand the person who voted the first time. So I don't forgive anyone the first time who voted. Like, you want to change, you wanted someone progressive, you wanted to break the system and see something different, and maybe that was okay, right? But after the first term, and you still didn't understand that was all a con, that's on you.
So here's what so the only thing that I will say about that is they write things in a way that sounds progressive, but their intentionality is the opposite impact. And so when they talk about, like when you read it, it sounds great because it'll talk about freeing speech, but they don't mean that. And so it's one of the things that I have said that you have to respect about the conservative movement is that even though they use it for really horrible purposes, they message incredibly well. And the other thing that they do is they know how to plan their work and work their plan. They're able to do that in a way that progressives haven't been able to do in the States in recent times.
The degree that you all paid for with your tax dollars for me is political science. I have a master's in political science. So this is actually one of my favorite topics. The reason you see the messaging shift is in post 9/11 U.S. politics, we shifted to adversarial context. Prior to 9/11, we had a very much this is why you should vote for me. We were doing mostly populist messaging. In the post 9/11 environment where we got obsessed with security, it became an adversarial political environment. That's why we're seeing now in places like New York and other places when a candidate on the left uses populist messaging, they get elected. Yes,
every time. It's one of the, so Crow, I don't know if you know about this or not, but so one of the things that has frustrated me is I hear every day when I'm on social media is what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? And I got tired of waiting for the Democratic Party or some progressive organization to come up with like a plan, right? So literally this is what I did. I started at the end of January and we're going to meet again this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. But so I literally took Project 2025 and put it beside me. And then I wrote out, because I consider myself, I'm a progressive populist. That's just who I am, right? And so literally I began to write a playbook similarly to the way that they wrote Project 2025, right? But then I coupled it with, because one of the things that they did was they had 50 damn conservative organizations to come together to decide how they could actually implement these things. Well, I don't have 50 organizations. I'm just me. But I do know how to organize and I do know how to do data. So I'll give you just a small glimpse of what this looks like. And how it kind of all goes together. So give me 1 second. All right.
I have the same mindset. That's why I started the Lighthouse, which is what needhasnoparty.org refers to.
Yep.
It's why. So like I also make clothing off of this side. I have my own store for Southern Clothes. If you the Lighthouse shirt, the shirt that actually has a QR code on the sleeve, so you can get people to the Lighthouse like while you're out and about, actually has an Angela Davis quote on the back that says, "I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept."
I love that quote too. All right, so check this out. So let me show you. So first, Crow, what I did was I took the, so we had 12 states in 2024 that had margins.
Stayed on there. I recognize Berks and Cumberland County off the rip.
Okay, so hold on. So I'm going to come back to PA. So here's what I did was I took the 12 states in 2024 that had margins of 10% or less. One of the reasons that's really significant right now is because Democrats are performing at a 13% gain, right? So then what I did was I identified all of the counties within those states that have had margins of 10% or less for the majority of the last 6 years worth of federal elections. So you can see this is 2020 for presidential, 2020 Senate, 2022 House, 2024 Senate, 2024 House, 2024 presidential, and this one is Michigan. But I only took the counties that consistently had margins of 10% or less, right? And then I did the data on those. And so here's what it means. So for example, with just these 16 counties in Michigan was an 80,000 vote deficit that Republicans won by, right? With just these 16 counties, third-party voters was almost 47,000. That accounts for almost 60% of that deficit. Registered voters in those 16 counties that didn't vote is 1.1 million people. Low-hanging fruit. And so I did that for Wisconsin and Michigan and Virginia and New Jersey and Georgia.
There's a thing you'll want to factor in from a political science lens. When you do this mapping, when things like the material conditions start impacting the voter base of the party in power, they don't switch parties; they abstain from voting. So there's about to be, and we know this because that's just what has happened every time something similar has happened. What you're going to wind up having to capture is the disenfranchised Republican voter, because there's going to be a lot of them this election. As their material conditions are not being met, they won't switch parties because they have a problem with separating identity politics from tribalism, and tribalism is the thing that says I will never vote for a Democrat even if they would help my material conditions. Right. So they just don't vote; they just abstain entirely. Yep.
And so did this, and then I'll show you the rest of it. So the other thing is not just knowing like where to go and who is whatever, is I wanted to give people resources, right? So one of the things that the Center for American Progress did was they broke down the people that are projected to lose their Medicaid or some or all of their SNAP by the end of 2023, right? So if you go to state digital resources, and since you're in PA, we'll pick up PA, and I'm going to head down here. So one of the things I loved about your state's website is your state actually broke it down by county, and it's on it's on the dashboard. So you can pull it by congressional.
One was being voted on. Governor Shapiro put out the full numbers on who would lose Medicaid and SNAP.
Yes. And so this is what I love about PA, right? So what I did for Pennsylvania is I did it by congressional district, right? And so there are actually graphics. And if it's an elderly person, I tell you what percentage of nursing home residents are on Medicaid as well, right? And then if it's SNAP, here's a SNAP one. And so these are for every congressional district in Pennsylvania, but I also did one that is Medicaid losses specifically by county. And so there are graphics for every single one of these. And so what we're doing is, so Crow, the people that follow me and the people that are in my Discord, they account for about 43 or more states out of all 50. So I've done graphics for all 50 states, right? And so what we will be doing is
pull up 7 for me real fast while you're in there.
Sure. District 7? Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm in Allentown, so I want to see what you have for District 7.
Okay.
These would be my clients. So I specifically work out of the county office in Lehigh County.
Yeah.
So these are my clients specifically. This is a number that I'm well familiar with because I take the bus to work every day when I work in office. We work from home 4 weeks. We're in office 2 weeks. I would take the bus when I go into work so I can stay grounded, because any person on the bus next to me could be one of my clients. So these numbers that you're showing right now are the ones that are nearest and dearest to me, because these are the literal people that I serve every day. These are the nightmare calls. When people picture the work I do, they're picturing the individual client, because I have to take all their nightmares. That's a part of social services and public services people understand. For every one person in crisis, to give you our caseloads, we are at a 1,500 to 1 caseload. Yeah. So that means for every one of you, there are 1,499 other households. That means I spend my week taking those phone calls, hearing the crying mothers saying, I don't know how I'm going to feed my kids, hearing the grandmothers going, I don't know how I'm going to get my dialysis. And these are just things that I have to absorb as a part of my job. And because I'm on the spectrum, I can't compartmentalize or forget shit. So
Yes.
it's just the things that live in my head.
Yep.
24/7, just running on a loop. Every nightmare call is just another scar that I live with forever.
Yeah. So this is Lehigh for their Medicaid stats. And so I pulled all of this. And so this is a graphic for all 50 states that I've done. But then also we're going to have like these days of action, right? So the days of action will be, our first one is in April. So imagine on the same day, in 40 some different states all across the country, people posting the same digital graphics, right? People going out into their communities and putting out the same myth versus facts. There's one in Spanish, there's one in adults. So like this one is about Medicaid adults not working. And so we show how many states that, yeah, it's actually the majority of them that do work. And then there's a QR code where people can actually join up to be part of this movement and what we're doing. Because I just got tired of hearing people say, well, what can I do? What can I do? And then the other thing.
The numbers run through for SNAP too. It's approximately 70% of all SNAP recipients work full time as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I have North Carolina. Yeah. So listen, so let me tell you guys. So the data is not uploaded into my link tree yet. Because we meet this Thursday in order to get it all done. So what you can do is go to my link tree, and the very first link on my link tree is join Project for the People, right? And once you join it, then you will get an email from me with the link to attend on, because one of the other things that we're doing is workshops on how to have these conversations. Because not everybody knows how to talk to people. Not everybody knows how to be heard. Not everybody knows how to have meaningful conversations.
During the summertime, when my activist groups in Allentown are doing actions, I actually work out my laptop and I set it up and I have a little sign that says, how does the government work? Ask me anything. And what I have learned having these conversations, if you all want the biggest life hack for these conversations, throw away all Pavlovian sugar phrases. Just ignore the word the left. Don't say national health care. Don't say any of the things you know they've heard about on Fox News. Talk about the thing without saying the word. Because I have found 90% of the time, if you have the conversation without saying the word, they will agree with you.
Yeah, 100%. And so we talk about what I call the 4 pillars of policy, which is healthcare, education, housing, and economic mobility. And then we talk about the 4 things I believe you have to bring to every conversation in order to create connection and understanding, even if you don't gain agreement. And that is something that I call CARV, which is compassion, authenticity, respect, and vulnerability. And when you combine those things and you're talking to the people in your neighborhoods, you can build connection. And I believe that it is disconnection and apathy is one of the biggest reasons that we had 80 million people that didn't show up to vote last year. So this is the thing that I literally did all of this work in the last 2 months, less than 2 months. And it's going to continue to grow with myth versus fact flyers, with things on immigration, with things on, but we're talking about what actually matters to people at a local level. And in communities where it's not from a Democratic perspective, it's not promoting the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. It's talking about the issues that affect you in your local neighborhood. And what I find is that when people see the numbers for their place specifically, then you have a better chance of hearing them. So this is the work that this community is doing. So folks, if you want to be a part of this, you just go to my link tree and then you sign up in the first little link that's in there, and then you will get an email from me. And then that's how we're because yeah.
So like I have a friend that rents my basement. I have a friend that rents my basement from me. He's my oldest friend. We've been friends for 18 years. When I met this man, we met at parties in our 20s, right?
Yeah.
We would get into heated political debates. And he was on the right. He was like a Rush Limbaugh level conservative, right?
Yeah.
And the way I got through to him was I just started asking him why a lot. Like, why do you think this?
Mm-hmm.
Where did you get this information from? And then the one that got through to him after I asked him the whys and the where did you get the comments, I started asking him a very important question, which was, Is this a thing you believe, or is this something you heard from Rush on the way to the party?
Yeah. It does matter. Is this really what you think? And so, yeah, so we literally role play in some of these workshops, and things like that, so that people can get comfortable having these types of conversations. But the idea right now is to just introduce yourself in your community, give people information and say, hey, I know this information is happening right here in our county, and I want to make sure that you have it. And then you just leave it and go. You know what I mean? Because we'll be doing this once or twice a month for the next 7 months, getting out into our communities.
Here's a big thing. Stop trying to win conversations.
Yeah.
Plant a seed and move on, because a lot of people will come around if you just plant the seed and leave. If you keep trying to get them to accept your side,
Nope.
they're gonna dig their heels in.
Yep.
They're just gonna get combative and dig their heels in. Plant the seed and move on. Let it grow on its own.
Yep.
You don't convert somebody with a single conversation. You convert them with time and letting it.
I do sometimes. I do sometimes, but the majority of the time, no, you don't. And so that's why we want to talk about how do we get out into our communities? How do we build connection? How do we come together? So that's exactly what we're doing. And so, like I said, we'll kick off our first day of action in April, and then go from there. So the goal is to at least do it twice a month, but to equip people. And so the idea is, so on this one particular day, to see all of the same types of graphics across multiple counties in multiple states using the same hashtag, and people in their real communities giving out the same information, similar information, right? And getting their neighbors involved and their friends involved and all of those different things. And so I want to focus on the work and not what the other side is doing. So yeah. Hey, team, I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah. Do you think you should make healthcare a right? I mean, everywhere else in the world thinks it is, but do you think this election you're ready for it? Because whenever I speak to Americans, they consider it a privilege. They think education is spending, and although every other country in the world considers it investment.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how. I'm just shocked whenever not you guys clearly don't think like that.
Right.
But I would say maybe 7 out of 10 Americans think that spending education, what you call it, free education, right? It's not free, it's taxpayer education, is an investment in the country. The reason you have to bring people from India and China and Brazil and blah, 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 is because you don't have enough qualified Americans.
Yeah.
If you invest in your people, you don't need to immigrate them.
So,
May I request, Dani? Because this is actually my favorite topic. Healthcare is my favorite topic. People that know me in chat know that my entire take on this. The left suffers from a framing issue on healthcare. I'm going to say this flatly. A lot of times we talk about we need to get healthcare for people because it's right, because it's moral, because it's good. To reach the conservative on healthcare, I'm going to teach you all the greatest hack. And I'm saying this because I've watched it work 9 times out of 10. Reframe it as a fiscal argument, because national healthcare is actually fiscally conservative. The average American is paying, to use my own numbers, when I run the plans, I pay $1,000 a month for healthcare. My tax increase under national healthcare would be like $800. So at that point, not only does everybody get healthcare, but I get $200 more in my paycheck. So we're spending less, earning more, have a stronger workforce because people with healthcare can see doctors, which means the GDP increases. We have higher tax revenue, and we save money at an individual level. Reframe national healthcare to a fiscally conservative idea, and more people will hear it.
I know you're right, Crow. You know how I know you're right? Because the Koch brothers did a study about it and proved you were right.
Yeah. I mean,
Now, the Koch brothers thought they want to deal with this national healthcare and find out that, it's a horrible idea. Lo and behold, their own study, and somebody leaked it, thankfully, otherwise you would never know it, that you would save back then, I don't know, was it 2018 or 2020? I don't know when the study was. Back then, not only, like Crow said, you would cover every American, right? You would save $250 billion. So in other words, you have the worst system that's the most expensive.
Yes, 100%.
It's really logical.
Yeah, I think there's an article. So I love The Intercept, and so The Intercept put it out. And so did The Nation. So both of those organizations published the Koch brothers study, and it came out in July of 2018. So if you guys want, I'm happy to put that in there as well. Guys, feel free to invite anybody to the project. It doesn't matter to me who gets invited. The idea is to get as many people involved so that we can get active and get into our communities. But I'll put this in the link tree as well.
That's always my way to address it with conservatives is to explain that national health care is actually a fiscally conservative idea.
Yeah, I did the same. It is talking about things from for me. I am listening for connection at all times. So if it is someone that I know is leaning from a fiscally conservative, or they're worried about funding, or they're doing whatever, then I'm going to frame the conversation to the thing that matters most to them. But I also do it.
You understand the premise, which is you can't force somebody into your frame. You have to enter their frame.
Yeah. And so I call it flexing into somebody else's window, right? Because we all have our own little windows of the world and how we see things. And so I tell people all the time, if you want to be heard, it is your responsibility to flex into the window of the person who's listening, rather than expecting them to come over to your window, because they don't have to do that. If you desire to be heard, then that's the objective, right? But guys, I'll be happy to put the links from the study as well into the link tree. 100%. I'm happy to do that. Yeah. So this is why, Crow, I want to do the workshops, and not just because here's the thing, I can give people these resources all day, but if they don't know how to deliver them, if they don't know how to have the conversation, it's meaningless, because it's not like people haven't heard some of this data before. Of course they have, but you have to know how to have the conversations and talk to the people that are in your communities, and have them be able to hear you, to be able to listen to you, to be able to connect. And so for me, I'm always listening. If I'm listening to somebody and I hear they have grandbabies, listen, I have grandbabies. The three of them are with me the majority of the time. We're going to talk grandbabies. Yeah.
We did that with the union drive. So I actually took a short-term contract with my union where I stopped doing government work for a minute. And I was the digital member organizer for SEIU 668. We had a member drive. We were having membership issues. So I looked through all of our benefits that were accessible. And then I looked at our demographics, and I learned that a large portion of targeted potential members were immigrants, one way or another. So I told our field organizers, I'm like, I need you, when you have these conversations with these healthcare workers that are immigrants, to point out that one of the benefits you get from SCIU is access to immigration aid via legal departments, which will help them get their family here. The minute the field organizers started using that as a talking point, our memberships went up overnight.
Yeah, 100%. It's listening, and I tell people all the time, I am listening for connection, so that I can find something that we both agree on. If Sherry is in here today, which she's in here almost every day that I am live. So Sherry is someone that when she first joined my panel, she came in hot. She was MAGA, 10 toes down, and she came in, and we had a very passionate beginning, right? A very passionate beginning, and but as we talked, I began to hear her, and I heard grandbabies, and I heard this. And so immediately I pulled my grands into the conversation. See, she said, yes, we did. We sure did, didn't we, Sherry? But the thing is that, once we got to the place, and here's the thing that I love, is I can hear that moment when they're about to shift. I can hear it when it's coming. It's like you hear their brain thinking, and it makes all the bullshit worth it. It makes every ounce of it worth it, because when we understand that we are not really fighting each other, that we have the same enemy and we have many of the same goals. I said this to Sherry. I said, Sherry, I bet that you and I agree on more than we disagree. And I said, watch this. I said, Sherry, do you want all of your friends and everybody that you know to have access to free, quality, or I said safe, quality, affordable healthcare? She said, yeah, absolutely. I said, me too. I said, do you want your children to have sound, accurate education, even if it's uncomfortable, so that we learn from it and do better? She said, yeah, 100%. I said, me too. Right? Do you want everybody to be able to afford housing and have a living wage and not have to choose between their medicine and their groceries? And she said, yes. Me too, right? And it was just having these conversations. And then she'll tell you, I brought my grandson. I said, you don't have to go on camera. This was during the summer. Sherry's been with me for almost a year now, which is crazy. I love it though. And I said, Dominic, come here for a second, because he's in middle school. And I said, Dominic, have you ever had a litter box in your classroom? He was like, no. And I said, has any of your teachers or any of your counselors ever asked you if you like boys or girls? He was like, no. I said, anybody ever ask you if you want to be a girl? He was like, no. I said, have any of your friends said that any of their teachers have asked those questions? He was like, no, Tutu. And I said, so what do your teachers say to you? What do they talk about? And he was like, math, like, I don't know, reading, like school stuff. You know what I mean? And it was just a moment where, you know, we had a conversation about those things. And then he was like, math. But then, you know, we got down to the nitty gritty, and we can name literally on TikTok, I can name 10 people off the top of my head that have come to me and been straight up Trump supporting, whatever. And it might be an hour-long conversation, but at the end of that hour, we have connection and we have understanding, and we may even have some agreement on things. And that's the beginning of relationship. And then we can work through everything that comes up after that. And so that's the stuff that I love to do. It's why I say I don't debate. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and that's the other issue we run into is I operate under what I call reasonable reality, right? So, like, if I'm talking to somebody on the internet, like, my gas is $2 a gallon, I'm not going to sit there and go, I don't believe you. Because like that just causes a defensive mechanism. If it's something that what is something that I consider to be within reasonable reality, like it's a thing that could exist, I just accept it and I go, great. I understand $2 a gallon in your area. That's fine. I'm talking about the country as a whole. Like, I'm talking about all Americans. I'm talking about American as a people.
Yeah.
Like, you can have your cheap eggs there. You can have your cheap gas there. I'm not going to argue against that. I just want you to understand we're talking about everybody.
Yes. 100%.
And I see too often people will sit there and be like, that's not true. Show me a source. I'm like, I don't need a source for that. That could be true. So I just accept it as true because it's not the point.
Yeah, 100%.
How do you handle, for example, somebody who comes and makes a claim like Iran declared war in America, gets you a source of one source, which is a headline, right? And you have to read the whole thing or the video to get the context. And you know that Iran never declared war in America in the first place.
A line. All right. When I say reasonable reality, harm is the line, right? So if you make a statement that could be harmful to people, whether it's Middle Eastern people, whether it's people of color, whether it's LGBT, that is completely separate from reasonable reality, right? Those are things I will ask for sources for. If the statement has the potential for harm, you will in fact source that for me. But if it's something like gas prices, housing prices, price of eggs, I don't care. We can continue the conversation. That's where the line is. So, like in your example, I'm going to ask for sources because that has the potential to harm somebody.
Well, he showed a source, which is a screenshot of a video.
Yeah, that's not a source for me.
I know that's not a source.
And that's what I tell them.
Right. He said, you don't believe in a news source? It's from India. I was like, it's in India. Then the more I don't believe it, because I know Indian source, most Indian channels are like Fox News.
Yeah. So for me, right? We address what we talk about sources, and we talk about credible sources. And typically what I will do is I will pull up something that is actually credible and a multitude of them. And then we have real conversations. And so it just depends on whether that person is open. And so sometimes when I hear somebody that is just kind of like dug in, rooted and grounded in what they're saying, and there's no hope of them shifting, I will actually say to them, so listen, I just want to know, are you open to facts that may conflict with what you already believe, but you're willing to consider them and maybe change your mind?
I think about it all the time, Dani. Like, if I'm like, because a lot of times when I'm on panels, I'm doing something around the house because I like to keep my hands busy. So I'm doing carpentry, I'm playing a video game, I'm hanging out with my kids, whatever. And I'll be having a debate or discussion, and I'll be like, hey, here's the thing. I can get up right now and I can prove exactly what I'm saying. But before I actually put in the effort to stop what I'm enjoying doing to prove this to you, I need to ask you a question. Will showing you proof impact this discussion at all?
Yeah. It's really important.
Well, my experience is if you have one source and only one source of it, it's generally wrong. Right? If it's such a big, especially like a news that Iran declared war in America, thing like that, you think only one news channel is going to report that and nobody else, especially in America?
Right.
I find that highly unlikely, right? So, you know, when people say, I got one source, I don't know if you remember this, Dani, back in the day, there was a report by Fox News that Obama spent $700 million when he went to India for security. I don't know if you remember that, right?
Yeah.
You know where they got that source from?
No.
India. An Indian newspaper made that claim, and Fox ran on it.
Of course they did. Of course. I mean, it's just like right now when they're swearing up and down that Obama gave Iran pallets of billions of dollars. Like it's the same thing, right? And yeah, so you just have to go.
First of all, let's be very clear. They didn't give them the money. They put it in a bank account in the UAE. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, because I might be wrong. So if I'm wrong, correct me. To my recollection, the money's in the UAE bank account, and the money's only supposed to be spent on humanitarian aid, means like baby milk formula, medicine, things like that. Am I correct?
Yeah, and it was
just give the money to the Iranians.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is, it was also their money. Go ahead, Crow. You were going to say something.
Saying
this is the issue of media and propaganda, because there's a video I recommend to everybody. It's called "You Are Not Immune to Propaganda." Look it up on YouTube. It's one of my favorite videos because everybody's propaganda has to one degree or another.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest weakness of propaganda is the headline, right? So the statement, Obama gave X dollars to Iran, is a factual statement, but it's also a surface level factual statement.
Correct.
Because it ignores what that money was, where it came from, and how it was allotted. And what propaganda machines feed on is the fact that you will take that statement as a complete statement. Mm-hmm. That's where we get into these arguments. This is also where we get into the arguments for somebody to say Obama gave Iran X number of dollars, and our side will go, no, he didn't. When the correct answer is, yes, he did, but here's the full information.
Yes.
It's tabloid news. It's like TMZ or one of your magazines talking about Hollywood. They'll have this headline: "Oh, he left his wife," or she caught him with another woman. There'll be something in the past, not now. The headline is like catching you. It's partially true or misleading. Right, but when you read the article or when you watch the video, then the whole clear picture comes out. It turns out it's not as is portrayed or as it's sold.
Yeah, it's not as salacious, but that's the thing. So there's I think it's still only on HBO, but there's a documentary called oh my gosh. It's the cost of disinformation and misinformation. Hold on a second. The cost of disinformation, and it's something fake news. It's Jack, what's his name is in it? Oh, it's called After Truth. That's what it is. It's called After Truth, and then disinformation and the cost of fake news. It came out in 2020. And Jack Berkman, who is this really, really well-known Republican lobbyist dude, he's in it. And he says in the film, yes, we are lying to people. Yes, we are putting out false news. And we got to do it before the Dems do it.
And I've tested this theory on both sides. I have a backup account that sometimes I will use just to test our side, where I will say objectively true things just to see how they react. I like to know. I like to keep our house clean. You know what I'm saying? I don't say inflammatory things. I say things that are strictly true, and just to see. And one of the big ones that I have noticed I will get a lot of pushback on in leftist lives is I'll go up there and say, I don't know why you have a problem with immigration when it was Democrats that started building the wall, and they will crash out and argue against me, and I'm like, no, it's objectively true. The wall started construction under Bill Clinton. You can look it up.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Bill Clinton also started the mass arrests, right? Like he made the 3 strikes and all that stuff. It all came from Clinton.
Yeah.
People forget that.
Yeah, no. So the reason that I can promise you this, black and brown people have not forgotten that at all. It is one of the reasons that he has been heckled and confronted by black and brown people when he's at speaking events. But what people don't realize is that they were willing. The Democratic Party in that moment, um, they switched to this tough on crime agenda because they wanted to win back the presidency. And so that's when Hillary and Bill came up with the super predator and the three structure out and all of those different things. It's why I know people right now that did 20 plus years in federal prison for the devil's lettuce, never unalived a soul. And Brock Turner got 6 months, and you know what I mean. So yeah.
I mean, I also think, I mean, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that's when the Democratic Party no longer became the Labor Party. They became also the corporate party. Clinton, made it a more center-right. Well, center, when he was president, was center. Now it's center-right. And the only reason you think it's left is the Republicans are so batshit crazy. They're so far right that center-right looks left now.
Yeah. And Christine is right. It's the new Jim Crow. Michelle Alexander has an incredible book called exactly that, The New Jim Crow. And people should read it. 100%. And the thing that I think that we haven't mentioned that we have to mention is one of the reasons the Republican Party has been so successful in this agenda is because of two things. They have used largely two things to win over the votes of rural individuals and the South. And those two things are race and religion. It's the Southern strategy. They have been doing it forever, and it is incredibly effective in this country. It's why they continue to do it.
Well, I don't know if you realize that the demographics and the census, the new census coming, that they will change the congressional seats in 2032, I believe, will favor the Republicans by, I think, somewhere between anywhere from 15 to 25 seats, electoral college, for the presidency, making it much harder for, unless somehow Texas turns blue. In that case, then it will be okay. I'm fine. Texas gets more congressional seats. If a Democrat does not win 2028, it's conceivable they might not win for possibly 4 terms.
Yeah. So I think
people realize how important 2028 is. It's not only getting rid of Trump, is that all that, the demographic electoral college changing, making it difficult. I mean, the electoral college is kind of favored to the Democrats in a way. If the people came out and vote, a Democrat should be a president. The president should be a Democrat.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm talking about, Dani?
Yeah, I do know what you're talking about. I think that, so this is the thing. Most people think states like Tennessee or Texas are red states. They're not. They are non-voting states. I think in 2022, Tennessee had a voter turnout of like 20 some percent, 22, 29% of people in Tennessee actually came out to vote. And it's absolutely asinine and crazy. And so the deal is we have to get people back engaged into democracy. And I think, to be quite frank, I think many progressives in this country got lazy after the civil rights movement. They just think, oh, hell, we want a bunch of, there's no way we could ever go backwards. And people are understanding that what this organization has done, what this administration, this regime, I call them an organization, has done is demonstrate all of the holes that exist within our government, our Constitution, and the ability for it to be manipulated to take us backwards if we do not get on board and make things happen this year. So I think 2026 is incredibly important when it comes to Congress and being able to not just impeach, but impeach and remove. And then for me, my mantra is impeach, remove, and prosecute. And when I say that, I'm not even necessarily talking about Trump. I'm talking about starting first with his cabinet members. There are grounds and proof and lying before Congress that can be utilized to justify those. And I think that there are several cabinet members that you could get enough votes from the Senate to make that happen.
Oh, I don't know if you saw the Senate, is this Senate or congressional hearing that they were talking to Christine Knowles when she was still the Secretary of, what do you call it, DHS?
Yeah.
There's a senator, I don't know, maybe she's a congresswoman. She told them, there's a video of it I saw, that you may not be held accountable today.
Yeah.
You may not be held accountable 2 years from now, but we are going to be here, and Trump's not going to be here forever to protect you. And we will still come back and ask and hold you accountable, and we're not going to go away from, you're not going to forget you.
No.
We're going to investigate you and hold you accountable, is what she said.
I think that people need to understand Steve Bannon stood on the stage of Turning Point USA's big shindig in December and said to them, if Republicans do not win in 2026 and 2028, he said, we're all going to jail. That's what he said. Standing on the stage, he said, if we do not win in 2026 and 2028, we're all going to jail. And and so for me, I'm ready to work for that. I am ready for you to go to jail. I am here. And so this is my thing. Right. Don't tease me with a good time, but they know it. And here's the thing, you guys, right. He said, including me. And here's the thing. They are fighting and working like they don't want to go to jail. And this is why I keep saying, we know how badly the conservative movement wants the world that they desire. They want it badly enough that they wrote a 900 plus playbook, and they got together 50 conservative organizations to figure out how to make it happen. The thing that I would ask is, how badly do progressives want it? And if you want it, you better get ready to do some damn work. Democracy, you don't just, I say this all the time, you don't put it in a microwave and you don't put it in a crock pot, damn it. It takes time. It's a home cooked meal. And you guys got to get in the damn kitchen and be ready to work.
I don't know if you know this, there's an election in Slovenia and other Eastern European countries. Your guy, Steve Bannon, and all these minions are going there, teaching them all the same tricks and all the same, they're helping each other. New Zealand, England.
Yep.
They all are put right-wing people in there.
Yep.
And seeing what worked, learning from it, and then, and they cross-pollinating each other, this worked in America, and this worked over there, and they all want to make the world into the right. And that's why a guy from Hong Kong, born and raised, cares about American politics, is because what is happening in your country is affecting the world.
100%. That's why there's a
it's not an isolated. Yeah, that's not an isolated thing.
No, that's why there's a Turning Point USA in London. They opened a Turning Point USA office in London. It's literally called Turning Point USA, and they opened that shit in London. Like this is a global thing where folks that are what I would call extremist conservatives. No, I'm not kidding. And so this is so I don't even call them the right, because when people argue left and right, I say those are directions. What I would say is they are conservative extremists, right? I think they have taken conservatism and they have become extremists. They have manipulated it. And what I believe is that progressives need to take over the Democratic Party the way that MAGA took over the Republican Party. That's what I think. 100%. So, yeah. I don't know if you guys have anything else that you want to chime in. I do want to talk a little bit more about this conversation here. I know Crow's a veteran like myself, but I want to build off of what happened over in Facts Live, because Tally kind of irritated me a tiny bit, and I think that people would benefit from understanding what service actually looks like.
I came up. I had literally just scrolled in the live, and I just clocked everything that was going on, and I'm like, everybody that knows me knows one thing. I'm a 13 Fox. I'm a fister, and you will never, ever, ever, ever shit on my fucking support shops, because my fucking sergeant hammered into my skull that this army marches on beans, bullets, and bandages. I will never dismiss a support shop, because I cannot blow things up without my support shops.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. So if you guys weren't in Facts Still Matter, if you weren't in Facts Live this morning, I sometimes I'll listen to different creators while I'm getting ready to go live. And so I popped into Facts Live this morning, and I actually just intended to listen. And then this idiot, Tally, whatever the hell his name is, he was in there and he was talking about he's a veteran and he was giving Steve shit because he told Steve that his opinion about whether or not Tally was honoring the Constitution and honoring the oath that he took didn't matter because he wasn't a veteran. And I was like, well, shit, I'm a veteran, so I can have this conversation with you. So I joined the panel. And so remember, the standard to Steve was, you're not a veteran, right? So then he gets me that is a veteran. And the first thing he says is, oh, were you a combat veteran? And I said, what percentage of the military actually sees combat? Are you a combat veteran? What percentage of the military actually sees combat, right? Because it's a very small percentage, people. And then I said, what is Article 92 of the UCMJ? And then he got mad. I don't know the whole fucking thing right off the bat. Right, he wouldn't answer me. And then Crow came up and Isaac came up, and they are combat veterans. And so you could just see the misogyny and hear it in the way that he was speaking to me. So for those of you all that don't know, literally it's like 10% of the military actually sees combat, while about 30 or 40% is deployed. Only 10% actually see combat. And the rest of us, go ahead.
No, isn't it the majority of a war is logistics? Because that's actually how you win wars, logistics.
Yes.
Not the actual. I mean, yeah, you do need to fight, but if you don't have the food, you don't have the oil, you don't have the parts, you might as well just go home, right?
Well, this is the point I always make to A-Team. Like, I can't do my job if I don't have a dock to keep me intact. I can't do my job if I don't have a cook making sure I'm fed. I can't do my job as a fister if I don't have comma making sure my radio works. I can't do my job if I don't have logistics making sure I have what I need. And as a fister specifically, I can't do my job without somebody like Dani pointing me in a direction, because a fister's entire job is to take things from intel and decide what to do with it.
Yeah. And so, and I'm the person that, so I'm Signal Corps. So I'm a signal comms intelligence girl. Right. And like I was telling him, my clearance at that time was TSSCI. He's saying fister because of his MOS. He was a fighter. He's combat. And so
hold on. I always forget. So Fister is just what a 13 Fox, otherwise known as a Forward Observer, calls themselves. It is our nickname in the military. It is because every job has an insignia, and the insignia for a fire support specialist is a fist carrying a wreath of lightning bolts.
There you go.
Thus, we get called
Fisters. See, I just thought it because you fight, but okay, so that makes sense. But so follow me. So with my security clearance being TSSCI, which is sensitive compartmental information, I literally worked in a skiff. When I was stationed in Korea, what that meant is I got bussed an hour and a half away from base, one way every day, to go work a 24 to 48 hour shift in the middle of a mountain. If you look up Tango Mountain, it's now on the internet. We didn't have the internet back then. And so you got bussed down to the bottom of the mountain. You hiked your ass up and you went through security from the South Korean folks that were there. I had my badges. Then I had to go down and walk through the tunnels and the damn thing and put the code into the door. And here's the thing, same thing in Alaska, whatever. The thing about where I worked is just because you were my first sergeant, just because you were my commander, doesn't mean you can come into where I work, because they didn't have the same security clearance that I had, right? So I worked in a skiff, which is literally the type of facility that all those classified documents that the president took down to Mar-a-Lago and put in the showers and beside the toilets. I work in the facility where that stuff is supposed to be kept, right? And so he was like, "Oh, she's trying to make it seem like those things are important." They are important, asshole. And they are important for me to make sure. So we were responsible for ensuring that secure communications happened between everybody else. Like, so we would determine if we had a message that was immediate, whether it was a flash message, whether it was whatever, what classification was, we made sure that communication got where it needed to be. So yeah, like I don't let anybody, but the other thing that I want to say about this is because a lot of the times, and I'm just going to share from my perspective. My perspective is as a woman in the military and a woman of color in the military. I can tell you for sure for me, the SA in the military started with my recruiter. It literally started with my recruiter. There is a classification, and there was somebody in Fax's live that thanked me for bringing this up. So we hear all the time about combat veterans with PTSD, and I take nothing away from that. I think what people do not give enough credit or appreciation for is there's another classification for trauma, and it's MST, and it is military sexual trauma. And I pulled up some numbers that I really want people to understand about, yes, what it means when you are a woman in service. Okay, just so that everybody hears me. So about 38 to 41% of female veterans are affected by MST. 38 to 41%.
I like this one.
I got you, sissy. Males, it's about 2 to 4%.
I mean, not this one.
And by the way, what I'm reading for right now is from the DAV, which is the Disabled American Veterans Association. But I have one pulled up from the National Institutes of Health. I have several pulled up from the VA Public Health as well, so that you understand. And I'm just going to share it from my experience and my perspective. It is one, I said 38 to 41%. 38 to 41%.
That's the reported number.
That is the reported number. But and that's the reported number. And only 1 in 3 actually reported it. So imagine what it is for real. If only 1 in 3 report, and those that report account for 38 to 41%, those are the numbers. Okay. It is absolutely astronomical. And I'm going to tell you the thing that is so, you want to talk about hypervigilance. Imagine understanding that I don't have to be deployed to be under attack. I don't have to be deployed to have an enemy. I don't have to be deployed to have an enemy that wants to assault me. It's literally every day walking around my own fucking post. It is the people that are in the
basic.
Yes, for me it started with my recruiter.
I'm saying that it started like on the dude side, just specifically in combat arms. There's a 13 series that are women, and that is meteorologists. Meteorologists and land surveyors fall into the 13 series. They train at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. That mindset starts at basic. I can say this because in 2006, I remember jokes about barracks bunnies in basic training, because on the other side of the battery was where the meteorologists and land surveyors were, which were also 13 series. So they were also at Fort Sill. So that shit gets ingrained out the gate.
Out the gate. And for me, I was 17 when I said I was joining, and I had my recruiter literally making moves on me at 17.
My recruiter was making moves on me at 19.
Yeah. And so it happens so much, and it's so prevalent. And it's one of the things that really kind of irritates me, that it doesn't get the amount of respect and consideration that the other forms of trauma do, right? You know, when people hear military veterans with PTSD, they think bombs going off or IEDs and whatever. They don't think about just being in your own barracks, just doing your own job, and it coming from the people that are supposed to have your back in the foxhole, so to speak, right? That are supposed to be there right alongside with you. And so every day, I'm on high alert every day. I can remember the comments that were made to me, a drill sergeant coming behind you, an NCOIC coming behind you while you're doing PT in the morning and you're going up a hill. Hey girl, I just want to see if you can carry all that up that hill. I just want to see if you can carry all that. Right? That's just the remarks. That doesn't.
Another thing I want to throw out there, Miss Dani, that I know you know. As a woman, when you report, guess who gets the shit?
We do.
Guess who gets in trouble?
We do. I will give you
every shit job that can possibly be given.
Yep, it's us.
Wasn't there a famous case of a lady who complained her superior officer essayed her, and not only was she doubted, she was harassed, and in the end, she was unalived in mysterious circumstances.
Vanessa at Fort Bliss. Vanessa.
Yes, Fort Bliss, that's it.
Vanessa.
I don't remember her name.
Yeah, because it's rampant.
And that's when I did a deep dive and found out what you said, and I was absolutely shocked about that's why I said reported. So what you're saying is probably more worse than you think it is.
100%.
In this case.
It's 100%. This is what people really people do not understand. Like I was considering transferring over into CID, right? So I was getting to work in the CID office. I was getting to do all of that, whatever. And holy shit, Gina. So because of the dude that I had gone out with, who was an NCO, I was not, had recorded me and then was showing it to other NCOs in the barracks. It was me. I lost my opportunity. He never got penalized. Nothing ever happened to him, but it was me that I couldn't. So literally, I had to go back to my old position.
So I'm going to share something, and I'm going to give fair warning. This is going to be a little bit of a trigger warning. So you know how they say you've got a twin out there or a doppelganger?
Yep.
Mine was in my squadron. Mine was married. Her husband walked up to me in the bar on base one night and started to kiss me. And I'm like, wait a minute, who are you?
Yeah.
And he's like, you're not my wife. I said, nope. She essentially was on base on a day I wasn't on base and had intercourse with 6 guys with a barracks window wide open. I wasn't even on base that day. Would you like to know who got pulled in for a psych eval, who almost got brought to captain's mast, almost got court-martialed, and all of that other lovely stuff? Guess who that was?
Oh, yeah, that was you. 100%.
That was me.
Yeah, 100%. That was you.
And guess who, when I went to Naval Investigative Services, guess who wasn't being investigated?
Him, 100%.
Those 6 guys that I was supposedly having sex, intercourse with.
Yeah, 100%. So I will give you some stats, guys. The Department of Defense estimates in 2023, in that 1 year, 29,000 service members were essayed in 1 year. That's
and
just
back when I was in the 90s, we didn't have an option to try and report that stuff like they have in the 2000s.
Correct. Because I was in the 90s too. I joined in 91 during the Iraq War.
I joined in 92 right after it was over.
Yeah. So I'm just so that you all know, and this is something that really irritates me when people like Tally try to say, oh, but did you ever see combat? Fuck yes. Every gosh darn day I did, right? Because when you are a woman in the military, much of the time you're in combat every damn day. You ought to hear the things. I never knew that BDUs could be so attractive, but yeah, bro, it is. And so I just think that it's really important that, so this is from the VA, and I will put this also in the link tree for you all. Good gosh. So here's there's an infographic. This is the text version of it. Okay. When we talk about MST, Men versus women. Veterans experiencing military SA is 4% men at that for this particular study, 41.5% women. And of course, this is reported. Veterans experiencing sexual harassment. The first one is actual trauma. This one is sexual harassment because they call trauma and assault something different because you can verbally assault. Trauma is physical. And so the harassment was 3.9% for men, 41.1% for women. It is staggering. Women that are deployed are 41.1%. Women that are non-deployed, 41.7%. There's no change. Whether we are deployed and we are in a conflict area or whether we're at home, the trauma for women, the MST is the same regardless. And for women, for the SA, it is 40.9% and 41.2%. So I really think that people need to understand exactly what it is like to hear all of the.
And I need to emphasize that both these numbers, whether it's men or women in the service, are going to be wildly underreported. Like, we already know that these numbers are always underreported on civilian side. They're even more so underreported in the military because anything that can be perceived as weakness gets you ostracized. If you roll your ankle, going to sit call to get your ankle set will get you ostracized, let alone something like this.
Yeah.
So when those numbers are already high, recognize they're actually significantly higher.
Yeah, and that's what go ahead, Gina.
I do want to share one thing super quick, and this is more of a civilian thing than a military thing. And this comes from the gentleman, this comes from the detective who actually did my daughter's forensic interviews several years ago. So this is about 3 years old. The average person who essays girls will have approximately 18 to 19 victims before one of them comes forward. The average person who essays men will have anywhere from 99 to 100 victims before one comes forward. And that's on the civilian side of things.
Right. Yeah.
The civilian side of things.
Yeah. So people do not, because men will not report because they feel like they are like, I'm a dude. How could that happen to me? Right. Because people do not understand, but it's the shaming for men. And so it's a really,
I also heard some, I'm sorry to hear about the military part. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was, it's clearly worse than I thought it was. But I also remember there was some crazy stat that, women who go to college, I think, was it like 30 or 40% of them get essay before they graduate, something like that.
Yeah.
So basically you're saying America has a huge essay problem.
America has because everything in this country is about devaluing women. Like the idea that women are respected or whatever, we don't have a culture that gives you that. We don't have we don't have that. Almost whether it's your television, whether it's your magazine, whether it's your literature, all of those things, it's always degradation of women. And so, yeah.
A-team, I do want to also share, and this is just an average one. 1 in 3 women will be essayed by the time they're 18 or within their lifetime.
And
there
so,
are 3 generations of women in my family. Would you like to take a guess how many of us have been essayed?
Yeah.
All 3.
Yeah. Let me just say this. Yeah. So this is the one thing that I will say is what I want to start saying is 1 out of 3 men are going to assault 1 out of 3 women. What man do you know? That's the question. Instead of saying women get assaulted as if it's a passive thing, I want to start saying men SA 1 out of every 3 women. What man do you know that's going to commit that behavior? And I'm going to put this one in the link tree as well, but just so you all know, this one is from the National Library of Medicine. It is from one of the most recent articles, studies that I've seen. This one's from 2024. And it is military sexual trauma among women veterans that actually use the VA healthcare, which there's so many of us that do not, right? And they also talk about post-military suicidal ideation, self-unaliving, right? So I'm going to go down here just to some of the key findings in the summary part of it. Give me 1 second to go back to where I was. Because it's crazy. Here we go. So overall, 68.7% of the sample screened positive for MST on the survey. So on this particular study, 68.7% of the veteran women that were surveyed were positive for having experienced MST. Specifically, 67.2% and 42.5% reported experiencing harassment, sexual harassment, and the other one is military sexual assault, respectively. Yet, only 36.5% was it actually in their VA health record, because people don't report. How about that? It is astounding. And so I just wanted to make this point because of asshole Tally and the way he wanted to dismiss my service because I didn't go to combat. Yeah, first of all, fuck you, Tally. Number two, and by the way, I'm probably a better shot than you two, asshole. But anyway, it is to understand that sacrifice and service and trauma happens on many different levels and in many different ways when you serve, right? And so as a man, you don't get to open your mouth and say not one fucking thing to me about the level of my service or what I did or did not endure. And what I will also say, I am so grateful for the person that did my CMP. So Gina, one of the reasons why I was able to not have to relive so much is because the one time that I did go to the ER, because I had been clotheslined and my tooth was through my lip and I'd been choked and pinned to the ground with his knee in my back. The ER physician that I had did such an incredible job taking notes. Remember, this is in the 90s. Did such an amazing job taking notes so that when they scanned it into the system, it was clear. It was clearly legible and readable, and all of the things. And my CMP person said, I thought this was a woman that wrote this. And she was like, no, it was a male doctor. That's how good a job he did. And so when I came in, the first thing she said to me was, I know that you probably don't know what to expect and you are anxious. Let me just say this to you right now. You are not going to have to relive a single moment with me. And I was in tears. I was immediately in tears. So I just don't want to hear anything else. And besides the fact that I almost died in Korea. And that's a real story.
I also want to say there's a lot of women, especially women of Dani and I's age, and even men of Dani and I's age, who never reported or never said anything because we knew what was going to happen. We knew we would not be believed. We knew literally, and by the way, what I was speaking about earlier, all of that was supposed to be kept quiet. I literally, at one point, was out on carrier calls for our aircraft. I was the only woman sitting in a room full of 25 men and one of my chiefs. If you've seen, I can't remember the name of the movie, but it had Willem Dafoe and Sharon Stone in it, and she pours wax on his.
Yeah.
And I was literally the only woman in a room full of 25 men, and my chief looks at me and says, "You like that kind of kinky stuff, don't you, Adams?"
Yeah, see.
Not that it's any of your business, but no, I prefer everything in one piece when I'm done. And that was what I had to put up with. I literally had guys walking down in my squadron, walking down the hallway, asking me for all kinds of stuff. kinds of stuff. I went to I went to JAG. I got myself a lawyer, and I essentially told them if they, and for those that don't know, you can go to what's called NJP, non-judicial punishment, or you can go to a court-martial. Non-judicial punishment, they don't have to listen to your witnesses. They don't have to do anything. It is literally your commanding officer's choice of whether or not they think you're guilty. I refused NJP and told them if they really wanted to screw with me, they were going to have to court-martial me. I also asked my commanding officer for a transfer because of what I was dealing with.
Mm-hmm. People do not.
I got tapped on the shoulder. He patted me on the shoulder and told me I was a beautiful young lady, and I was going to have to learn how to live with it.
Yeah. It's boys will be boys kind of attitude. And
Dani, do you think that is still happening in America right now after the Hollywood thing? I can't remember his name.
Harvey Weinstein. Yes, it happens all the time. Yeah, it is. Yes, 100%. Like
what I said.
I said that. Yeah, go ahead,
18,
sorry.
18. It goes back to what I said. This is going to sound like dismissive. This is not. This is just saying why it's still happening because of military culture. Any weakness is ostracization.
But it's also still happening in civilian world because we have a society, a team. So do you know that the Me Too movement here was politicized, right? So the Republican side of things, the MAGA world.
It went global. If you didn't know that, it went global, meaning it went all the way to Pakistan, it went to India, it went to China, it went to Hong Kong, it went everywhere. Because believe it or not, this is not an American problem. This is a woman and men problem. That some countries are more and less than others, right? So that's the only difference.
Yeah. So here's the thing: the U.S. doesn't put what's happening in other countries over here, right? They don't, like, if we want to know that something has spread somewhere else, we're probably going to find it on TikTok or through maybe if you do the Guardian or the Intercept or some of those places, you might see that, right? But other than that, they're not going to tell us that it went global. And when I say to you that literally the Me Too movement gets mocked all the time by members of the Republican Party, the conservative movement, it's been politicized as some bullshit. And when you have a president that calls the women who talked about this, he calls them nasty women, right? When you have a president that refers to people as piggy and all of that, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Does not contain that. Yeah, it doesn't. But when you have that, it adds to the issue. It adds to the problem. And so, yeah. And here, I mean, look at who we have as the Secretary of Defense. Pete Hegseth was literally, he did a non-disclosure agreement. He violated a woman in 2017. I read the police report. She had bruises on her inner thigh. Like,
and he, by the way, does not want women in the military either.
Right.
Oh yeah. That's why he retired. That was the first. I think she was a Secretary of the Navy, first female Secretary of the Navy.
Yeah, he
made her retire. Right?
Yeah, they've kicked out several prominent women leaders.
Right, and also people of color, I might add.
Yep.
So he doesn't like people of color and women. That's very obvious.
100%.
Also, if it serves me correct, he put someone in the Supreme Court who was, I'm pretty much sure, has some Cavendish.
Oh, Kavanaugh. It's Brett Kavanaugh, and it's not even pretty sure.
Right.
So for those of you all who do not know what actually happened with Brett Kavanaugh, let me take a moment to explain and send you it once again to my link tree. So Senator Sheldon Whitehouse has done a fantastic, incredible job at digging in and getting the truth out about what actually happened during Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing. So if you remember, when Dr. Ford came forward, there was also someone else that came forward and also made allegations. And at that point, they paused they paused the confirmation process, and they said they're going to give it a week to see if other additional information comes in and other things can be verified, right? Well, guess what happened? Holy shit. So it's literally been documented, and the White House admitted that the White House directed the FBI, because they set up a tip line. The White House directed the FBI that any tips that came in during that week, anything related to Kavanaugh, was to be sent to the White House. In that 1 week, 4,500 tips came through that were never investigated, that were never looked through, and they were all in reference to Kavanaugh. People were so frustrated trying to get through. They were calling their elected representatives and saying, hey, I can't reach anybody to talk about the thing that happened to me. So you can see it. So Sheldon Whitehouse did several reports. The final one came out, I want to say, in the summer of 2024. That's when the final report came out. But this is a big deal. So yes, 100%. That's a thing with Brett Kavanaugh. And if anybody had listened to fucking Anita Hill, we would have known about Clarence. Believe women.
4,500 complaints?
Yeah, tips came in. So hold on. I'm going to show you the, hold on. I'm going to pull it in. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Brett Kavanaugh, hold on, Kavanaugh and report. And I'm going to do volume 3 because that was the last one. Oh, there we go. All right. And I'm also going to pull up this. So I'm going to, let me share my screen so that everybody can see what I'm talking about. Okay, boom, that's up. Now let me take this down so I can show you. FBI director confirms that the agency sent tips from Kavanaugh tip line to the Trump White House without investigation. 4,500 tips to the FBI went uninvestigated. Yeah. And Christopher Wray confirmed that that is indeed what happened.
Okay, so tips is different from accusing. So they're like giving, like maybe several people, like maybe 10, 20 people at the same case, they're giving tips on the same case. Possibly,
yeah, and yeah, it was
like
information about the accusations either by Dr. Ford or there was another woman. I think there was 1 or 2 other women. But if you go to Senator Sheldon, so he did a 6-year-long Senate inquiry, right? And there is the final report, and it was October of 2024. I was off. I said this summer, but it was off. And so this is the final report. It's called Unworthy Reliance. And this is about the quote unquote supplemental investigation that really wasn't a thing. And so like I talked about this leading up to the 2024 election here on my page, trying to tell people, like, do you understand when you say, oh, you didn't get, you know, oh, nothing was for Dr. Ford was whatever, blah, 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 blah. Then you figure out that the White House literally diverted any tip that came in about Kavanaugh because they had selected him and what people need to know about that selection. So Brett Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, they were shortlisted by Leonard Leo, who is the head of the Federalist Society in this country, the head of the Federalist Society. The Federalist Society is who they cultivate conservative lawyers and basically positions them to be in judgeships, whether it's at district levels, federal levels, or whatever, and put them into the administration and into the judicial system so that you get conservative leaning rulings. You can go and actually look at their website. There are members of your Congress that are part of their organization. You can find it. They have conferences all over the country. And during that time, Leonard Leo stepped down from his role at the Federalist Society to go work directly with Donald Trump to pick who was going to be the Supreme Court nominees during that time. So that's why you got what you got. So just,
I think the reason they start doing that is, if I recall, either Reagan or the first George W. Bush, H.W. Bush, that's how you call him, right? The father Bush.
Mm-hmm.
His pick or Reagan's pick turned out to be a liberal. So they're like, we want to be sure who we're sending is really what is advertised, and that's when they started doing this. We picked them we picked them young. We picked them and we made sure they are really what they are, and then we make sure they become Supreme Court judges.
Yes. So the Federalist Society was founded in 1982. Reagan. They were.
Yeah, well, there you are. I mean, this is crazy because back in the day, I used to love Ronald Reagan. I don't really know. I was a kid also. I didn't really know politics, but he was such a good, he's a funny guy. He's a very good statesman in a sense outside. And he had no idea all his policies were so horrible. He's the reason why Americans do not have the education they have right now. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, it would cost peanuts, nothing. You get a great education for. I remember I was watching this documentary of Robert McNamara about his life. And in his time, right, he wasn't rich. In his time, he went to an Ivy League school, right, worked in an ice cream parlor with minimum wage for 3 months and paid it for himself. So you imagine, back then, minimum wage for 3 months, you could afford a college degree,
right.
For a year.
Yeah.
Try to get a full-time job and pay that for a year.
You can't do it now. It's crazy. Yes, baby. Yeah. So this is what people. Yeah.
I will go down and thank you for having me, Dani, and I hope to speak to you in the future.
Yeah.
On foreign stuff. I know there's a lot of American stuff this time, but we're talking about Iran or American-related foreign stuff. I'm your guy.
Okay.
I hope to see you next time.
Yeah. Be sure to come back. Yeah. We absolutely been talking about Iran, so feel free to come back. Appreciate you.
Okay. Bye.
All right. So I want to go ahead and get Jen. I know that Jen is also a veteran who probably wants to weigh in. And then after Jen, Smoke Will, I will get to you.
Hey, Dani.
Hello.
How are you?
Just grand. Yeah.
So fortunately for me, I didn't have the same stuff happen in the military that a lot of my, friends did.
Mm-hmm.
I come at it from a different standpoint. I was an MP, the most hated MOS in the military period, straight out.
MP, by the way, you guys, is military police.
Yeah. But in doing that work, I had a lot of moral injury from having to stand there with the females and listen to what happened, mm-hmm. and then basically pull security while they got their stuff out of their house so that the husband didn't come after them, mm-hmm. or take them to the clinic or go to court with them. It's a really big problem, and it starts early, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't stateside. That happened when we were in Afghanistan. That happened when I was in Germany. It's all over.
Yeah. It is a military thing.
Yeah. It's horrible.
Yep. And it bothers me when people are so dismissive of it, or they act like the only trauma that matters is physical trauma. And they don't. And by the way, that is physical trauma too, oftentimes, but it's both. And oftentimes, if you're single, the barracks is your house. You have a room in the barracks, but the barracks is your house. And so oftentimes your perpetrator is living in the same house as you. They might just be down the hall or on a different floor, but imagine living every day with your perpetrator.
Yeah, and unfortunately, females in the military, they get put into 3 categories. And it's been this, as long as I've known it, you're a bitch, you're a lesbian or gay, or you're a hoe.
Yep.
Those are the 3 core categories that you get put in. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Nope. True story.
Just like for me, when I was in Germany, I was the only female sergeant where I was at in our unit. So if I hung out with the other male sergeants, well, then I was a hoe.
Yep.
I couldn't hang out with any of the females because they were all lower ranked than I was.
Yep.
So I was at this in between. And, you know, when you get put in that position, it's not a good position for anybody to be in.
Yeah, 100%. It's why, like, I am grateful for the experience of different people, different cultures, different countries, you know, all of that. But if you were to ask me, especially now, would I recommend for anybody, or especially a female, to join? My answer would be no. My answer would be no. It's not something that I would recommend.
My daughter has talked about joining, and I don't want. I mean, when she turns 18, can I stop her? No. Do I want her to? Does her father want her to? No.
No. It's just something
and her
different.
father is also military, so.
Yeah.
Well, I have twins, and one of them signed for the Navy. And while I support his decision, I'm scared 100% of the time now.
Yeah. I don't blame you, because you know what it is. Yeah. And that's the thing that matters. Yeah. And so, and let me just say this, Jen, just because you didn't experience it, a lot of times being the witness, especially of the aftermath and the process and all of that, is still traumatizing.
Yeah, I mean, I go to the VA. I have a service dog now for a variety of reasons. One of them was the extreme moral injury that I suffered in Germany, and then again in Afghanistan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a very empathetic person, and I don't have a gray area when it comes to right and wrong.
Yeah.
So when I see wrong being done, and not being able to do anything about it, that's a hard thing to swallow.
Yeah. For me, it's one of the, like I told you, my friend who is a forensic psychologist, I was saying to him, I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I said, you know, when I see something that is so wrong, that is so atrocious, I was like, I have to do something in that moment, whether it's I write a post about it, or I get on and I do a live because it's just so whatever. And he actually said to me, he said, I am actually glad you have that, because if you didn't, you would probably break.
Oh, there are plenty of times where I want to break. And I will tell you, anybody who feels that way, I'm just going to do a little shout out to the foundation that I worked with to get my service dog.
Sure.
She has changed my life probably 100%. But it was one of the sailors that was unalived when they poured out of Afghanistan. His family's local to me, and they started a foundation because he loved dogs, and they give service animals to vets, about 2 or 3 a year. Yeah, and then we all get together. We meet up twice a month, and it's a way to get us out of our houses and to like talk to people who understand us.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And people don't understand. It's funny because, like, doing this all the time, people assume that I'm a certain way. I am not a certain way. Outside of, like, if it's a task, if it is something that I need to do, I will do it. Outside of that, you know, no thanks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a complete introvert, and having the dog, it forces you to do things that you don't want to do. Like, I would just order my groceries online. Well, she needs to get out of the house, so now we go buy groceries every week. You know, it seems like not that big of a deal, but it is.
It is.
When I'm so hyper vigilant when I'm out in the community.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, I also want to throw out there to all the people who think that only the men who are in the military like sit with their backs to the wall and want to see the door and all of that. It's not just the men.
No, that's this girl.
It is not just the men.
One of the funniest things is the civilian view on veteran to me, and I remember an incident when I first started working for the government. We were pushing for increased minimum wage in the state of Pennsylvania, and BLM was going on. And my manager calls me up off the clock one day, and he goes, "Hey, so you're a veteran, right?" I'm like, I am. He's like, so do you want to make a statement on this minimum wage and BLM bullshit that the union's pushing for? And I just go, you know what, Tom? I'm going to tell you something. I am going to hang up this phone right now. And going forward, all we're going to talk about at the office is our pets and our job. Okay? Okay, great. Have a great day.
I find it like, and maybe it's just a me thing. A lot of times when I'm talking to people and they find out that I would agree with you, Dani, I'm not a liberal, I'm not a conservative, I'm a progressive populist. I want what's good for people.
Me too.
They automatically put me in the category because I served as a Republican or as a conservative.
Yeah.
And then they find out that I'm gay and they're like, well, no, now you're a liberal.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm judged as a liberal because I'm Black first, right? But if they don't see me, if I'm over the phone, if I'm whatever, and people find out I'm military, then they think that I'm conservative. So yeah, it's like that for me as well. Because they just don't. There are so many different assumptions, and people don't. You know, if you all remember when Crow, Jen, and Gina, you probably all remember in, I believe it was 2020, when the Associated Press came out with their big investigative piece around racism in the military. Okay, so I had written, at that time I was writing on Medium all the time. And so I had written a piece on it, blah, 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 blah. And if you remember, Trump was like, oh, this is bullshit. And there was oh my gosh, Bud Halsey, one of our elected representatives back home in Tennessee, was, oh, our military isn't racist. And I was like, yes, the fuck they, and I said something on Twitter about it. And the actual editor for that piece, Black dude from in the military, reached out to me and we had a conversation about it. I don't think that people realize how prevalent. And so when people have always asked me, how do veterans support Trump? And I said, because the military has always been the most racist, sexist places I've ever seen.
Yep.
It's always
and
been.
I also want to throw out there, if they're not racist, and folliculitis barbae, which, guess what? Guess who that affects the biggest majority, which because they've taken those no-shave waivers away from men. Mm-hmm. The biggest majority of the men who had those waivers were, guess what? Black men.
Because I'm about to be out there.
So if they're not racist, why remove that?
What?
Right. Oh no, it was specifically for a purpose. It was specifically to target us. But if you remember, the Trump
as well
plan.
As the women with locks and
yes. So listen, you all, it was in the Republican plan, and I still have it printed out. So they said, remember when they said get the woke left out of the military? That was specifically about coming after transgender people, coming after Black and brown people. It was specifically about coming after those people in the military. Make no bones about it. Smoke Will, you wanted to hop on in here?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've been listening for a while, and I had stories, and I don't want to go back to. But if you guys remember, you talked about Vanessa. But if you remember in Iraq when the Black female was supposedly she unalived herself.
Yeah.
But she had burns on her private area, and they didn't do an investigation. I thought I was in Iraq in that time. And I thought that was a pretty bad case. And then Vanessa happened. But so I was a 13 Bravo. I came in 1995 when 13 Bravos were all male.
Yep.
So 23 of 24 years in the military, I was in an all male combat arms unit. Then they opened it up to women. And I was the first sergeant here at Fort Bragg. And I got the first group of female 13 Bravos. And so as a first sergeant, I remember having a female. So you had to have a female officer and a female NCO before you got female soldiers. So the first female that showed up to my unit was a female lieutenant, and she was the XO. And then we got a female who was a forward observer, LT. Then we got a female E5 sergeant for supply. Then we could get female E4 and below. And I remember sitting in my office one evening getting new soldiers in, and 5 of the 7 were females. And they had just gone through basic and AIT. the first group of females at Fort Sill to do so, and the first group to go through airborne school to go combat arms. And it was all after that one first female graduated Ranger School. She was a lieutenant. She came to Fort Bragg, and she opened the door for all those females to come here to Bragg.
Yep.
And me and the LT and my commander were sitting there, and we do what leaders do. You have to talk with the new privates. And all 5 girls wanted to talk to someone about being harassed in basic and AIT. And I was like, man, the thing that made me decide to drop my retirement packet wasn't that. It was I had an 18-year-old show up, and I realized my daughter was 19. I was like, I've been in too long if kids are coming in younger than my daughter. So I'm going to drop my packet and retire and get out. But I came in an army where you just talked about racism. I came in to my first duty station was Fort Campbell, Kentucky back in 1995. And my first NCO was, I could say now was racist as fuck. I didn't pay attention to it at the time because as a private, you do what you're told back in the 90s. I remember back then we go to the field for 29 days. They didn't want to pay that separation pay, so they take us out on that 29th day and then let us stay for 24 hours and take us back out for another 29
That's
days.
That's right.
So I was in the field. It was raining heavy. And in field artillery, you can't train field artillery every day. So you train in the field. That's when you get your good training in. We were digging foxholes back then, up armpit deep, and I'm 6 feet, so I got to dig a 6-foot hole.
Yeah.
And I had been out working all day in that hot heat. Then we got one of those evening showers, and everyone buttoned down to stay out the rain. And the first thing that made me realize maybe my section chief didn't like me that much was I was sitting out guarding a radio where no one was going to talk on it because we had shut the gun line down. We weren't shooting rounds. We weren't doing missions. And I'm sitting out there, and my platoon sergeant walked by. I was like, "Hey, why are you out here in this rain?" And I was like, "My chief told me I need to guard the radio." And he was like, "Well, why would you guard the radio that no one's using right now?"
Right.
And so my first sergeant kind of like came over and yelled at the guy. But I endured him for a whole field problem or a field training exercise for, I want to say about 50 days. And when I got back is when they gave me the guy who taught me everything I needed to know about the military. Unfortunately, he was an E5. He had gotten busted down to E5 for being overweight, and then he got RCP, but he was my first real section chief.
Yeah.
He taught me everything I needed to know about the military. A black guy from Cincinnati, Ohio, Sergeant Edwin Herring. And he taught. I grew up without a dad in Mississippi. My dad died when I was 6 weeks old. But I had coaches, and then in the military, I had good NCOs like Sergeant Herring, and he taught me everything I need to know about being an NCO. And I've seen being in combat arms, like you talk about the barracks. I had all men in my barracks, but back in the 90s, before 9/11, anyone could get on post, and you'd have civilians. Females going in and out the barracks all the time. And so I've seen everything you talk about. And I don't want to keep bringing up SA, but if you guys remember in 1999 at Fort Campbell, that infamous story where the male PFC came to Fort Campbell and his roommate took him to Nashville to a club, and he ended up falling in love with, he was a cross-dresser.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't using the word transgender at the time or whatever.
Right.
They ended up killing that kid. July 3rd, 1999, he got killed in his own... Well, he wasn't in his room. He was outside his room because they had...
He must have got a call. I want to let you all know. So when he says he's a 13 Bravo, that's infantry, just for those of you guys who don't know.
No, artillery, field artillery.
Well, Philip.
11 Bravo is...
Oh, yeah, 13B. Yeah, I went 11B.
Not mortar. Mortar is different than mortar. So I'm a cannon cocker.
I don't know. When I heard B, I immediately went to Bragg. Yep. Okay. Yep, you're right.
The guy who shoots the big 105 millimeter howitzer.
Yeah. He's the guns. I'm fucking 11 Delta is what I was thinking over.
Yeah. So if you really want to see a good story about how the military messes it up, it's called The Soldier's Girl. It happened in 99 at Fort Campbell, where a guy was killed by his own peers because he fell in love with a cross-dresser in Nashville.
Yep.
It's a really good story. A lot of leaders got destroyed behind it, like the platoon sergeant, the
As
first
they should.
sergeant. They had a cadence. You guys know what cadences are. When we're running, we sing.
Mm-hmm.
The first sergeant had a cadence where it said, and I apologize for this, but it was like faggot, faggot down the street, faggot.
Oh,
faggot,
but if you say it, it'll get me blocked on TikTok. Don't say
sorry,
it. Don't
I'm
say
sorry,
it.
that's right.
Yeah, don't say it.
And so that story happened in 1999 at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and I was a E4 promotable when that happened.
Yeah, we're gonna get some.
And then I wanted to go back to racism. I was in Alaska.
Before you do that, let me say this. The woman that he was talking about in 2005 in Iraq, her name is Lavena, Lavena Johnson. She's the one that was found in Iraq in her tent. The army said that she took her own life. However, they told me I got to take you. Oh, wait, let me see. I guess your life has violated our hate speech. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. They're going to make me take you down, Smoke Will.
That's cool. That's cool.
Okay. I tried to catch it, but I knew they were going to get it. Okay. Okay, I got it. I knew it was going to happen. You got to remember, we on TikTok, y'all. We on TikTok. But yeah, so there were actually signs that not only had she been raped, but there are signs that that she had also been tortured. Yeah, it was real quick. It was real quick because he said it like 6 times in 10 seconds. You are welcome, Smoke Will. You're welcome to come back anytime. Just be TikTok friendly with the language because they will get us.
I will say that I had a unique experience in the fact that my commander, so I was National Guard. I signed up National Guard right before 9/11 happened, but I spent most of my 12 years deployed somewhere.
Yeah.
Most of it was active duty. And my commander in the National Guard, I don't know how it is on the active duty side. Typically after 2 years, they go up to battalion.
Mm-hmm.
She stayed with us for 5.5 years because every time she would get ready to leave, we would get deployed somewhere. And our first sergeant was my team leader, then he was my squad leader, then he was my platoon sergeant, and then he was my first sergeant. So I had someone that mentored me my entire career.
Wow.
Great guy. When we went to Afghanistan, they made it a point when we were at Bagram they basically made it a policy, and it sucked as a policy. However, it benefited us. Our bathrooms, our showers, everything was a half mile away from us.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had to go to the bathroom at 2:00 in the morning, you had to wake somebody up to go with you. They're like, you do not go anywhere by yourself because there have been so many SA cases before we got there.
Yeah. And that's the thing that we had battle buddies.
Yep.
When I was in basic and do you know that for my claim in the military, Jen, I actually reached out to my old battle buddy and she wrote me a letter. She wrote me a letter to back up the things that happened when I was in basic.
I still talk to my battle buddy from basic, and that was in 1999.
Yeah. So, when it's crazy, when I joined in 91, right? So I very well could have been deployed, right? Like I said, it was something that we looked at in my family as it was something honorable. You know what I mean? It was, y'all got to remember, both my parents were in. My parents met when they were in nursing school at Walter Reed, right? Both my brothers served, my uncle served, my daddy did 2 tours in Nam, right? So it was the path. It was the path. And knowing what I know now and having such a different perspective of knowing, because I knew what was happening then, but the culture and the environment was vastly different than it is today. Women just did not have the permission to say the things that we have the permission to say today. And so it was just, it's not something that I would recommend for damn near anybody, to be honest, but definitely not. I'm so glad neither one of my girls ever wanted to. I'm so glad.
Yeah, I was surprised when I was surprised when one of the twins said that he wanted to join the Navy. And he has a specific goal in mind. And, you know, I really appreciate the fact that he was upfront with us about it. And this is what he wanted to do. And we could wait till he turned 18 we could sign with him. And I'm like, well, I did the same thing to my mom. I was 17 when I signed.
Me too.
But I didn't have, like, my family's not big on military. I had a great uncle that was in World War II, and I think that's where it piqued my interest because I did an interview with him for a social studies class.
Yeah.
But when I joined, realistically, I joined for the college benefits.
Yeah.
That's
not me.
That's what I joined for. And I got out in 2011, and I still don't have my degree.
I will tell you all this. There's a great recent article, kind of investigative article that appreciate you, Crow, for coming up this whole time. The other thing, there's a great article that talks about how the military takes advantage of poor rural communities.
Yep.
Because oftentimes the military is their only way out. And so there's a recent article about that and about the way that the military preys upon the vulnerabilities of.
And they still do.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, this is a recent article. It just came out in the last month or so. So 100%.
My family wasn't rich by any means, but we were comfortable. But there was no way that my parents were going to be able to pay for college for both me and my older sister, and still live fulfilled lives and not be scrounging all the time. So it was the best option for me. Do I regret going into the military? Absolutely not. I met some fabulous people. And that's the part that I try to remember, and I try not to focus on the stuff that happened to me or around me that I couldn't fix.
Yeah, I think for me, I have a difficult time. I mean, you know how it works with MST and PTSD. You don't get to choose. You don't get to choose what you remember and what you don't.
No, there are some days where I'm just like,
there's some shit like sometimes even my daughters will say, "Mom, you don't remember," and I'll be like,
Oh, my boys, they'll know when I'm having an episode. I tend to go on a cycle where all I do is watch military movies.
Oh,
because for whatever reason, the sounds, they're comforting to me.
Yeah, and I'm the opposite. I avoid most military movies. Yeah, I'm the opposite. Now I can watch true crime all day, but I avoid. Yeah, and I do watch true crime all day. But I think one of the reasons why I tend to watch the true crime when they catch the people, I think that's because of my moral, my moral injury. Do I still remember new things? Well, so there were things that were written in my medical records from the ER physician that I was like, how did I only remember like being clotheslined in the mouth and I forgot that part? Like, how did I? But as soon as like I read it, and then I could vividly remember it and all of that. But it's the brain does really funky things in order to survive.
Yes.
And I don't think that people understand what the brain does when you are in survival mode. It's one of the reasons why sometimes it can be a smell that is triggering for me. It can be a sound. It can even be verbiage.
So smells are super triggering for me from my time overnight.
Oops.
I had to recognize it so that it wouldn't make me spin out of control. And I want to say this, and I'm going to get off. I started it a couple months ago, and I had to stop. It's the EMDR, whatever.
EMDR?
Yes. So I started that a couple months ago, and it was so debilitating after like the first or second session that I had to stop. I'm giving it another go because I now have Clementine to kind of ground me after the sessions.
Are you doing it? Are you, because like I do EMDR. So literally they gave me like the most experience, like the PTSD specialist at this particular VA. She's the only person who sees me. They brought in like a whole team from the psych side and the therapy side, and they had all of them had a meeting with me together, and then they all decided on what to do, and so they assigned me to her. And so when you do your EMDR, do you do the dot?
No, I do. I have the little things in my hands that vibrate because the dot, I can't focus on it. Like I have to close my eyes and just, she gives me the little hand things that vibrate back and forth.
Okay. Yeah. So I did the dot, and like I'm preparing for another session now.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times when she'll go, okay, we can't do it. You have too much going on right now. She was like, I'm not going to do a session with you. Because and our thing is too, is if it becomes too much, raise your hand.
Yep.
And like, holy fuck. I mean, that particular processing of that particular thing, it was great, but going through it, yeah, not fantastic.
We discussed it for a long time, and we came up with a plan on where we wanted to start and how we wanted to move through it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how, and I'll use the word debilitating it was for me probably 2 or 3 days after it, when I could not get out of this funk because I was so focused on it. Like I couldn't compartmentalize it enough to be able to function.
Yeah.
So we've done some work around it so we could come back to it. Yeah, and she specializes in PTSD and moral injury and trauma and all that stuff as well as my psychiatrist. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, my compartmentalization, my strength, my superpower is avoidance. I don't sit in shit very long. Nothing. I do not sit in it at all. So I will like if it happens, I am very quickly going to get on the other side of it. I don't sit in it, which sounds great, except for you don't get through it. You just don't, like it just sits the fuck over there. So
yeah, mine is dark humor. I usually turn something into a joke because I don't want to deal with it.
Yep. So Shantae, you asked how to convey things to a young person when when somebody is trying to kind of goad them into or use the family tradition thing, right? And so here's what I would say about family tradition. Family tradition is great as long as it is still beneficial to the family, right? Family tradition is great when the thing is positive, right? I mean, it used to be tradition to get married at 14, right? It used to be tradition to be enslaved. It used to be tradition to do a bunch of things. Just because something is tradition doesn't mean that it has value. And understanding that the organization under which that tradition used to exist is very different than the organization that exists today. And so the way that I would be communicating that to a person of color that is considered going into the military is, would you voluntarily go work on a plantation? The answer is no. So do not take your ass to the military today. That would be the way that I would very succinctly wrap that up in a nutshell. Is would you voluntarily go do that?
And I had that conversation with my son. Unfortunately, my ex is still currently serving, and she is half Filipino. She is not white, and she is an avid Trump supporter. So that contention that we have, and not trying to push that on the boys at all.
Yeah.
I don't bring that stuff around the kids unless I have to, unless they ask me questions.
Yeah.
I just told him, I was like, look, I may not agree with it, but I will support you. And if you need anything, all you have to do is ask. That's all I can give you.
Yeah, EMDR is not superficial in any way, shape, or form, Audra.
No.
It is not superficial at all. Yeah. So
it's a deep dive.
Yeah, very much so. And one of the things that can benefit, yeah, I know that's what you're saying. One of the things that can be beneficial is processing some early trauma can help resolve trauma that occurred afterwards. Yeah, so that's the goal, is for you to be able to do it and get to a great place so that other things aren't as triggering. So yeah, 100%. But yeah, so this is one of the reasons why I put these two images up. You guys can see the image right here. You guys can see the image right here. One of the reasons why, and this is just to me, when I look at both of these images, to me, I can see the phony versus the real. I can see the, oh, I'm pretending to be tough versus this is who I am. I'm a man of dignity. I'm a man of service. I'm a man of, you know what I mean? Like, one is pretending, acting all the fucking time, like he's always on the set of The Apprentice. And the other is just stoic, because this is just what you do. You just serve. You just serve. And it doesn't matter if you get anything for it. It doesn't matter if you get anything in return. It just is who you are. And so, you know, many of us still serve in a variety of ways. So I really wanted to point that one is literally a lifetime of service to his country, and another is a lifetime of service to himself. And right now it is service to himself at the expense of this country.
Yep.
And that matters to me as a veteran. And one of the other things that I wanted to just read and point out for a second, and Gina and Jen, feel free to chime in. But I wanted to read this to you all and let you hear actually the words. When you say, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. It does not say the President of the United States. It does not say Congress. It does not say the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. It says, I will defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And it doesn't matter if that domestic is sitting in the White House or not. But this is the other part that I really want you to hear. And it says that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me. Here's the part: according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. So you do not obey the orders of the President or the officers if they violate the Uniform Military Code of Justice.
We lost you, Dani.
I know you do. It's because my phone is ringing off the wall. And so that is the other piece of it, is you do not follow the orders of the President or the officers appointed over you if that violates the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Yeah, that's the oath.
I want to throw out there, I've taken that as part of my oath for my current job, because I'm a federal employee.
100%. And so that's what people don't understand. The Army values, because I was Army: loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. What is the Military Code of Justice? That's our laws. So it is our laws that governs military service. That's our laws. So
for me right now, all from the president all the way through all those leaders that are in the White House, they are all breaking their oath to the Constitution.
Every single one of them.
Allowing what is happening to continue to happen.
100%. All those generals, all those admirals that took their ass to Virginia that are following these orders, every missile that we launch, everything, all of that, folks, that these are violations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. You are in fact behaving treacherously. You are violating your oath regardless. And that's just a very real thing. I don't even know what to say about the fact that there are 5,000 Marines headed to the Middle East right now. It's crazy.
It's like deja vu.
Yeah, because yes, it is, right? It absolutely is. And folks, I'm going to recommend a movie that is based on like real things. Is go watch a movie called The Report. Go watch it. You want to find out how they lied to us and took us into wars that weren't really there? Go watch it. There's another movie that has Sean Penn and whatever her name is, called Fair Play. And that is based off of Valerie Plume. Literally when Scooter Libby outed an active CIA agent because her husband would not co-sign the lies from the Bush administration about weapons of mass destruction. Like all of that, those are real things. When we say that they lied to us to take us to war, that's not hyperbole. It's literally a fact.
There's another one called the Green Zone. I think it has Matt Damon in it.
Yep.
The other suggestion I would make is 13 Hours, because it's based on Benghazi, and it more shows the lack of fortitude for the American government to step in and help when they should have, because they created the problem.
Yeah. So the first one that I said is it's a movie called The Report. And it's absolutely incredible to see. The second movie that I said is Fair Play. And you can actually look up. So when you watch these, what I recommend that you do is then turn around and Google the people that they are playing. Google the information. Go find The Report, because The Report is there. Like this is not, I keep saying this is not hyperbole. This is a real thing that occurs. So you can go read the documents that show what we covered up and how we lied to take us to war, which is exactly what is happening right now. And so I think it's really important, folks, that you understand that, and I say this, and I'm going to keep saying it, nationalism is not patriotism. It is the exact opposite. Nationalism is not patriotism.
Yeah, I think the only difference between what happened after 9/11 and now is you can literally go on to any social media and see what is actually happening over there versus what the government is just telling you is happening.
Yeah.
So when people say I didn't know, well, you do know now, because you have every affordable opportunity to look up and see what is happening.
Yeah. And so somebody asked me over here if I think that the Russian oil tankers will reach Cuba. My answer is yes. I absolutely think Trump is going to let the Russian oil tankers get to Cuba, even though he intercepted the others and didn't allow them from the other countries. I do believe he will not stand up to Vladimir Putin, and I think they will get there. That's just my opinion. That's just what I think. So they're approaching, so we will see what happens, right? But no, I think they will. I don't think that he will stand up to Putin. That's my honest opinion. So
no, he won't.
Yeah, I just don't believe that. I'm going to recommend this book again because I don't talk about it on TikTok for a reason. Okay. But if you have not heard of this book, or read it, I'm going to recommend it to you again. Whoops, let me turn it around. Whoops, nope. Whoop. What, really? Okay. So this book is called American Compromat by Craig Unger. The subtitle is How the KGB Cultivated Donald Trump and Related Tales of Sex, Greed, Power, and Treachery. So I highly recommend American Compromat for your reading. Just gonna sit that right there for your, yep, just gonna plop it right there. So yeah.
I gotta drop down.
Okay.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, appreciate you, Jen. Anytime. Appreciate you. Yeah.
Agreed. Thank you, Miss Dani, for having me on.
Yeah, you're welcome, Gina. Absolutely. Anytime. Appreciate you. You are very welcome, folks. Yeah, so I just really wanted to dive in a little bit to I got you, to what service really looks like and what service really means. And it is not blind obedience. It is not any of those things. Hold on, Tracy, let me see. So, did they go back? Because they were halted in February, the ones from Mexico. But I don't know if they came again after that. I know that they stopped Mexico's oil in February, but I don't know if they came through later. Yeah, but they came in with humanitarian cargo. So that's what it says. Oh, shit. Okay, give me a second. Hold on, y'all. Okay. All right. I'm managing things. So what is happening now is the Russian tankers are supposed to arrive today. There will be a huge flotilla of around 130 ships that are going back to Gaza, back to Palestine. I believe they are going to go either at the end of this month or in April, I believe. So that will be another thing to see if they make it through. Yep, I read that as well, but I think this is going to be the oil tankers from Russia. So we'll see. I do not think that Trump will stand up to them at all. So here's what I want to do, because I have been on for 4 hours, and I appreciate you all hanging with me and having really robust conversations. Grateful to everybody that joined the panel today, from Crow and A-Team to Gina to Jen to Smoke Will. To what's the word? I appreciate everybody joining the panel and participating in this much needed discussion. If you are a vet, let me just say this. Yep, Linda, it's American Compromat. The book from Crow was, if you hadn't asked me, it was Folk, Devils, and Moral Alarm, I think that was the name of it. So folks, make sure that you are taking care of yourselves. And I am going to say this. Oh, you're welcome, Eyes Behind the Frame. So let me also say this. It's not just people in the military that get PTSD. All right, folks, I'm a believer that I think most of us have it in some form or another, especially after C-19, especially in the political environment that we have been in for over the last decade. So I'm going to stress very, very strongly the need to be grounded, the need to be centered, the need to refill your cup, do the things that you need to do to be okay, because it is a lot right now in this world. So I'm just going to offer that to you as well. Okay. I do not know if I will be live again later today, but I will definitely be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please make sure that you are signed up for a Project for the People. We meet this Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to be part of this deal and have access to all of the resources and the conversations and the workshops and all of that, sign up, make sure that you're in it, because It's going to be on all of us. Nobody is coming to save us. It must be us, the people, doing the work. We, the people, must do the work. No one is coming to save us. We must save ourselves. And you cannot count on people just knowing not to vote for Trump. That has not worked in any scenario since. Hey, Matt. So I appreciate you all very much. I will see you all tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Love you, mean it. Take care of you.